Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay, thank you. I would request everyone to keep the video off and keep the mic on mute position. And as and when any query comes, I will be most happy to give you the answer to your queries, and we can ask at that time. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mumbai Institute and BBKS, to giving me an immense opportunity to impart training on aviation insurance for pre-promotional exams 2026-27. I and best. I'm wishing everyone all the best for the exams, forthcoming exams, and everyone should pass with flying colors and they should get promoted. So, first of all, I would like to give a small introduction on aviation. Like aviation insurance is a part of marine aviation section which is coming in the exams, and out of 30 questions, there are uh, around 3 to 5 questions. In between 3 to 5 questions come from the aviation insurance portion. And aviation insurance is something where you can score full marks without any making any mistakes, because it's a very easy section and you can very well score in this paper. So I will go one by one through the slides, and you can ask any question if there is any query. So what is aviation? First, we should understand what is aviation. So it is a study of aerodynamics, the study of science of forces which is generated in air by the passage of solid bodies such as aircraft. So what happens in aircraft? There are two wings are there. You must have seen. So there are aerodynamic, and it's an aerodynamic body because the flow of air is very smoothly on the body of the aircraft. You must have seen the body of the aircraft and the wings, and it's very easy flying like that. And I will explain you how the aircraft flies as well in between. So there are So now we will go on the engine section. There are four forces which are required for flying the aircraft. First is a gravity. Gravity is something is known as gravitational force, which is pulling the aircraft towards the ground. So when the aircraft is in air, the gravitational force is pulling it towards the earth. Then there is a lift. Lift is provided by the engines. Rahul sir, I would request you to keep the mic on mute, sir. So, yes. So now coming to the lift. Lift is provided by the wings actually, and uh, the lift should be the force of the lift should be higher than the gravitational force. So in that manner, what happens is that the plane remains in the sky. Then another is your drag. What is drag? Drag is from the front portion of the aircraft. So drag is a force which is provided by the air, which is acting from the front of the aircraft. I will show you the diagram and you will be able to understand easily. And fourth is the thrust. Thrust is the power which is generated by the engines of the aircraft. In a way, you can understand that when the thrust is like this, then it provides a forward movement to the aircraft, and likewise, the when the lift is more than the gravitational force, then the aircraft is in the sky. Uh, I will show you another diagram which you will understand in this picture. Yes. So as you can see, there are four types of forces which are acting on the aircraft: thrust force, lift force, drag force, and weight force.
Kshitij sir, unable to see the video. Unable to see the PPT, sir.
Okay, just hold on, just hold on. Are you now able to see the screen, sir? Is the screen available? Hello?
Available, sir.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see, I will show you once again. Yeah. So there are four types of forces which are acting on the aircraft: thrust force, lift force, drag force, and weight force. As you can clearly see in this diagram, the lift is pulling the aircraft upwards, which is provided by the wings of the aircraft. The weight of the aircraft itself is the gravitational force, which is being pulled by the earth towards the earth. Drag force, which is from the front side of the aircraft, and thrust is provided by the engines, which is pulling the aircraft, making the aircraft fly in the air. So when the thrust is more than the drag, then the plane will move forward. When the lift is more than the weight of the aircraft, then plane will fly at a higher altitude, like that. Now this is the lift force, and lift is the mechanical force generated by a solid object moving through a fluid. So basically, lift is generated by a solid object, which is like the wings of the aircraft. So wings of the aircraft are made of solid object, and they are providing lift to the aircraft. So it's like that when the downward force from the lower side of the wings is higher than the upward side, then the aircraft flies in the air. Next is a drag force. Drag is a mechanical force generated by a solid object moving through a fluid. So you can see that with drag is from the front side of the aircraft, the wind is like it is stopping the aircraft to fly forward. So that is a drag. It's like a friction which is generated by the friction of the aircraft. Now this is the weight of the force, which is the gravitational attraction of the earth. So this was a small screen I had shared with you, and then we'll now move to the earlier one. Is the screen audible? You can see the screen, sir? Everyone? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So now we'll discuss about the engines. As you understood that there are four kinds of forces which are acting on the aircraft, and out of this, thrust is something which is generated by the engines. And we will now understand how engines work, and then we'll move further ahead in the chapters. So engine provides the necessary power to aircraft to move forward, to take off, to fly, and finally to land. So it is very easy to understand that engines are the main heart of the aircraft, and they provide the necessary power to move the aircraft forward in taking off, which is during the takeoff of the aircraft, to fly in the air, and then finally to land. So as I explained to you, these are all I have just explained it to you that there is a force of drag operating against motion, which is air, and engines provide thrust, the wings provide lift. When thrust power is more than drag power, then only the aircraft moves forward, and when the lift force, which is supplied by the wings, exceeds weight, the aircraft climbs. So I think this is clear to everyone. This is the basic concept of the aerodynamics and the aircraft which is flying the aircraft in the air. Sorry. While in flight, all the four forces should be balanced, and the aircraft is designed to achieve this objective. So that is why the aircraft manufacturers are every 5 to 10 years they are like doing research and development, how to design an aircraft, how to make it means how it should be more fuel efficient and how it should be more in air. So they are making changes in the wings, they are making changes in the rudder of the aircraft. The tail wings are also there. You must have seen there are two small rudders are there at the back of the aircraft, which make the aircraft to pitch at on. So that is the separate thing. We'll come to the types of engine. There are two types of engine. First is your piston engine. First is your piston engine. Second is your jet engine. So what is a piston engine? I will explain it to you. Piston engines were normally they were used very, say 60, 70 years back when the aircraft was first developed. And at that time, the piston engines was in picture. And as you understand that you must have heard about how the two-stroke two-wheelers are working or four-stroke engines are working. So it is the same concept that is being used here. That was being used for the aircrafts long back, around 70 years, 60, 70 years back. So you might say during World War II and prior to that. So piston engines were used. So in that, piston engine uses the gasoline, which presents a high fire risk. So obviously, it's a fuel of the aircraft which was being used at that time. So it was known as a gasoline. Nowadays, we are using ATF, which is known as air turbine fuel, uh, which is also highly combustible, and it is being used in aircraft. So risk of total loss due to single piston engine can be avoided by using twin or four engines. Of course, when we say that there is a single piston engine in an aircraft, so it's basically more riskier to like to do the underwriting or even to fly. Suppose there is a single piston engine in an aircraft, and if that engine fails mid-air, so what is going to happen? That pilot will have no option but to land the aircraft uh, by looking at the terrain where the safest possible uh, place is there to land, like on a river or in a field like that, or on a road even. So small aircraft they can fly like that, and they have to land like. But if there are twin or four engines are there in the aircraft, so that is much easier. You can say that in that manner, if there are twin engines, then they are a much better risk, because if one engine fails, even the other engine will be working in a very good manner. Now coming to the next is jet engine. So jet engine is of course more reliable from engine failure point of view. Uh, if you have look at the modern aircrafts which are currently, you must have taken the aircraft, the flights. So you must have seen at the engine, you must have seen that there is a very wide opening at the front of the engine, and they have a very huge blades are there, which is moving at a very high speed, and they are actually have a angular movement, like at a certain angle where they are taking more oxygen from the front side, and the thrust is being produced from the back of the jet engine. So more the oxygen is means when the thrust is high, you can say when the engine is running at full speed. So at that time, what happens that the wings of the blade of the jet engines, so they are widely open, and they take more oxygen from the front side of the engine, and then they push it towards the you can say the combustion chamber of the jet engine, and where the more thrust is being produced, and which makes the aircraft fly at a much higher speed. So jet engines are of course more reliable from the engine failure point of view. They normally hardly they fail. They do fail, but they hardly fail. Like the possibility is very less. And but of course they have some pros cons as well, which is exposed to ingestion risk. What is ingestion risk? Does anyone knows? Can anyone explain what is ingestion risk?
कौन है?
Yes.
Yes, sir. It's foreign object getting ingested into the engine.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? So yes, of course it's correct answer. So what happens sometimes when the aircraft takes off from the airport of any city or any country, normally you must have heard about the bird ingestion damage. So birds are actually the foreign objects for the engines. So what happens that when the aircraft engines are running at such a high thrust during takeoff, they are taking in more oxygen from the front side of the jet engine and pushing it towards the combustion chamber of the jet
चलिए
engine.
ना, अभी इसके पापा पियेंगे। एक लो वो। हाँ, एक ही ले लो बस।
So what happens is that when that happens, so the bird gets whatever birds are flying at such high speed, so they get sucked into the engine. And what happens that the they are like confined, like obviously they die, but what happens that their bones or their muscular parts, they are like they damage the blade of the jet engine as well, and they might go inside and they can destroy the engine as well. Few of the crashes have happened in the past due to this ingestion risk as well. But nowadays, the engines which are being produced by different manufacturers like Pratt and Whitney, Rolls-Royce, which are producing the jet engines for the aircraft. So they have a much safer, like they have done a lot of research. And nowadays, what happens is that they are just confined to the blade of the jet engine. So only the blade gets damaged and nothing else. How it is how it is being detected. So what happens when the aircraft lands at any airport? After that, you must have seen that ground staff goes there and they check the engine and everything from the aircraft portion. So by observing also, they can easily tell that whether there is a bird ingestion or not, and through that they are doing inspection. And if any damages have happened, then they will have to repair it, or they will put the aircraft on grounding. So obviously jet engines require, so this is known as ingestion risk. And apart from that, sometimes what happens, uh, there have been a few instances in the past as well, where you can say that damage to the jet engines have happened due to ingestion risk. Like I can give you an example. Very long back, I think when one of the aircraft was flying from Jakarta to, I think, to Kuala Lumpur. So what happened in between? There are lots of volcanoes are there in Indonesia. Okay, that's a country, the Southeast Asia. So there are lots of volcanoes are there. So due to the volcano eruption, what happened? The lots of smoke and ashes. They are flying in the air at a very high means altitude, and they also go too far beyond, means from one country to another country, and they can even cross oceans. Very recently, there was one incident which happened due to which the AQI of the Delhi also increased a lot. Does anyone know related to only volcanic eruption? Any idea? Very recently,
Ethiopia.
yes, in Ethiopia, what happened that almost after 1,000 years, I think, or 10,000 years, something like that. So that volcano erupted, and what happened that the smoke and ashes came from they flew from Ethiopia to India, and what happened that obviously the AQI will increase. So that is one of the major risks, but it happens once in a while. And due to that, what happened in that aircraft, both the engines got damaged due to that. And when they came at a very lower altitude, you can say that below 10,000 feet. So 10,000 feet is a very safer risk for the aircraft when they are coming in at a treble. So what happens is that when the aircraft takes off, after takes off, it cruises to altitude speed, altitude height. So high altitude is, you can say, 35,000 feet to 40,000 feet. So this is the cruising altitude. And after that, they again start descending for the landing. So these things are there. So there are totally 3 steps are involved. So when at the landing phase, if suppose they encounter any bad weather, or say you can, there are huge clouds are there, and they are like, means the visibility is totally zero. So at that time, the pilot has to take a decision. Means it's an instant decision on your stigma, and you can say by looking at the front side. So they have to do that. And there are many types of damages which have happened in the past due to ingestion risk, but we'll discuss about that later on. Now coming to the jet engines, they require long runways to take off and fly, and they are very high speed engines. So jet engines require long runways. Why? Because when the takeoff happens, so they have to first reach the speed, takeoff speed, which is also known as V1 speed, and after that, the pilot uh, takes off the aircraft by pulling the you can say it's a stator. You can say the handle is there, like steering wheel is there. So they have to put it like the stick is there. Actually, it's the stick. They say the stick has been pulled up, and then aircraft, the nose of the aircraft is lift upwards, and the plane takes off. But only after a certain cruising speed has been reached, which is known as V1 in their language. So after that, only the aircraft takes off. Ingestion risk, as I explained it to you, so this is already explained it, and this can also happen while flying, while taxiing, or while landing as well. So both things are there. While taxiing, I will explain it to you later on. What is taxiing? Then during flight, when the aircraft is flying in the air, there also the ingestion risk can happen, and during landing as well, also it can happen. Previously, engines were fitted at the end of fuselage. So you must have seen lots of aircrafts where the engine, nowadays the engines are fitted on the wings of the aircraft, but long back they used to be fitted at the end of the fuselage. Fuselage is the body of the aircraft. If you can understand, there are two portions are there. One is the tail portion, one is the front portion. But the total body of the aircraft is known as fuselage. Like in marine, it is known as hull. So here it is known as fuselage. It's the basically the body of the aircraft. You can say the chassis or the body of the aircraft, and where the other metal sheets are being fitted on that fuselage, and the complete aircraft is completed. But nowadays it is fixed under the wings for easy overhauling and repairing. Obviously, when it was at the end of the fuselage, so there were some pros and there were some cons. Pros was that during belly landing, I will explain you what is belly landing, which is landing without wheels. I will come to that. But during belly landing, what used to happen, there used to be damage when the aircraft engine is fitted on the wings of the aircraft. So it is like on the downward side. So it can cause damage to the engine. But when it is at the end of the fuselage, which is on the side of the, you can say the tailwind, so there itself, uh, any damage is not possible because it's at the upper side of the aircraft. So nowadays it is fixed under the wings for easy overhauling and repair. When it is fitted under the wings, so overhauling and repairing is very easy. And when it was at the end of the fuselage, so it was quite difficult to do overhauling or repairing of the engines, because actually it was fitted to the aircraft engine. And nowadays, what is happening? Suppose overhauling is what every jet engine is having a life cycle, as we all know when we cover any machinery as well. So every machines have their own life cycles. So say, for example, say after 15,000 hours of flying, after 15,000 hours of flying, so the engine must be overhauled as per the SOPs of the engine. Like whenever we are keeping our car, like for our car, we are doing the servicing every year. Are you all aware of that? Why we do servicing when if there is no damage? Because we want that it should be in a working condition, and if there are any uh, problems or repairs which might have occurred, but they are not visible from our eyes, naked eyes, so that could be repaired at the time of servicing. So it's same for the aircraft as well. But for aircraft, the main body part is the body. Oh, sorry, the engine of the aircraft. So engine is being overhauled and it is sent for repairing if any damage is there. But most of the repairs and overhaulings are done in India itself nowadays for Boeing aircraft because they have their own MRO facilities are there. MRO stands for maintenance, repair, and overhauling. Like Air India is having a very big MRO facility at Nagpur right nowadays, where all the other companies' aircraft are also sent for overhauling. So they have a very big plant there because of the space being provided by the state government. And apart from that, the Air India is also having 4 hangars which were used. There are that are at old Santa Cruz Airport, which was the earlier airport. I think almost 50, 60 years back that airport was being used. So what is belly landing? Belly landing is landing without wheels. So engines suffer most. Have anyone seen any video on belly landing, like in past or anywhere, like on YouTube or where? Have you seen the belly landing case? Why it happens? Can anyone?
It happens because the landing gear failed to operate, failed to extend.
Absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely correct. Thank you so much. So what happens is that during landing time, so there are some SOPs which the pilot is following, and during one of the operations is to put the landing gear in downward position. So there is one lever is there which shows up and down. So normally when the aircraft is preparing for landing operations, so at that time the lever is put on down position and the landing gear should come out. Long back, there were no sensors in the aircraft to detect whether the landing gear has landed or not. So either it was due by looking at the back of the engine, or you can say by the gravitational force they used to do that. But nowadays they have a screen as well on in the cockpit where it clearly says that there is a light which is visible. Both the landing gears have landed or not. That is the back one as well as the nose nose landing gear. So there are two landing gears. One at the back side. There are two. One at the nose side, which is on the front side. So when the aircraft land, though, so the wheels of the backside landing gear they touch the earth surface first of the runway, and after that when the aircraft little bit gets slows down, then the nose landing gear touches the runway. But suppose that both the landing gears have failed, so what is going to happen? That there will be a belly landing. Belly landing is just like a belly landing. So like what is going to happen? It will damage the fuselage of the body as well as the engine will be also damaged because engines are fitted on the lower side of the wings. So this is the main case. So this is one of the cons of uh, fitting the engine there. Now helicopters. Helicopters are hazardous risk from underwriting point of view. Why? Any idea? We always say good risk and bad risk. So fixed wings are always a good risk, and helicopters are always considered a bad risk because helicopters normally are flying at a very lower altitude. And apart from that, they don't have a jet engine, but they have you can say piston engine, but in a different manner. So and apart from that, they have a single engine and twin engine as well. And there are lots of models of helicopters are there. We will show you in slides as well how it is taken care. And what were the uses of helicopters? In India, we are using for obviously for travel and leisure purpose. And apart from that, it is also used for crop dusting. Nowadays, it is being used. Offshore drilling. Offshore drilling is like if suppose ONGC is having a oil rig in say Trombay or say in the middle of the sea for extracting the oil. So to commute from the land, from the onshore risk to offshore risk, the helicopters are always used. And normally, these services are nowadays in India, it is being provided by the subsidiary of ONGC, which is the Honors Helicopters Limited. And apart from that, Global Vector Helicopters are also providing these services to the employees of the ONGC and other Oil India Limited. So there are lots of companies are there. So they are providing this offshore drilling rescue, and they are also using rescue operations. Like you must be aware that during flood, whenever flood comes in any of the state, so at that time the Indian army helicopters are there. Even the private helicopters are also being used in the rescue operations. Apart from that, helicopters are also used during the election campaigning. So these are all things, and even that those are used in the hilly regions, say in Badrinath or say Kedarnath. So and even in Vaishno Devis. So for pilgrim visits also these are being used. And why they are bad is because they fly at a very low height. And it all depends on the maintenance of the helicopter should be well maintained, and weather plays a very huge factor when the helicopters are flying, because helicopters are quite lighter as compared to fixed wings, and they have a different scenario. So if helicopter crashes, so loss of life is almost certain there. But if you will compare it with the fixed wing, though, so the loss of life will not be so much prevalent. So you can say that fixed wings are much safer risk as compared to helicopters. That is why helicopters are also having higher access as compared to this one. Now we will come to operation hazards. What are takeoff and landing risks? I hope that everyone is able to understand. If anyone is having any doubt, you can very well ask me without any hesitation. So coming to operation hazards. So what are the hazards which occur during operation of any aircraft? First and most important is your takeoff and landing risk. So major air crashes are due to this. Why it is this factor comes into the picture? The during means you can say that almost 70% of the crashes happen during takeoff and landing. Why is it so? Any idea? So I will explain. See, what happens is that during takeoff and landing, what happens that the aircraft is being flown by the pilots. So pilots are under huge stress, and they like the major air crashes are due to this. So like what happens is that whenever the takeoff is happening, so all the control is with the pilot and the co-pilot of the aircraft, and they are under huge stress. And during that, if any, there should not be any possibility of any loss or anything. Uh, so that has to be taken care. I would again request everyone to please switch off their videos as well as and they keep their mic on mute. And if any doubt is there, then they can ask the questions by, by unmuting the mic. So yes, coming to the main point. So major air crashes are due to this. Heavy aircraft need longer runways, and hence chances of aircraft running beyond runway into soft earth where the wheels may get stuck, which may result in fire loss or overturning loss. So obviously, when any aircraft, the more the size of the aircraft is high, then it is being means it's a there's more chances of aircraft taking longer runways. Like if it's a small aircraft, it might land in a say a 500 meter runway. But if say it is a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, so it might require at least 2,500 meters of runway, or say 2,000 meters of runway for landing, because it's a very heavy aircraft, and it will take that much of time. Now, if suppose sometimes what happens when the aircraft is landing, during landing, there have been instances in the past, and very recently also it happened. What is happening that during bad weathers, when the nature, like you can say, the huge means there is a huge storm is which has come to at the airport side. So what is happening? The wind is blowing, and it might means it can you can say it can alter the aircraft operation. Like although the engine is providing the thrust, but it might be possible the drag force is quite high. Suddenly, the drag force is so high that even if the engine is running at say full thrust, the aircraft is not able to move forward. Or you can say if the weight of if the downward force of the air is so high on the aircraft that it makes the aircraft crash on the land without means although the lift is being provided by the wings, but still the nature's call is there, like we can say the downward winds of the storm. So they are pushing the aircraft towards the runway. So it might happen that it will crash hard on the runway. So hard crash is something where the aircraft speed is too high and it touches the ground with such a force that the plane crashes on the runway itself. So there's certain speed, so it might be, you can say, around 130 or 140 knots or 120 knots the aircraft has to land. And if the speed is say 200 knots, 180 knots, so there's 90% chances are there that aircraft will end up in fire loss. It will crash on landing. And so the heavy craft, so whenever the pilots are flying a heavier aircraft, so they have to take every small things into their mind, that whether it should be in a, like, if it should be favorable, the engine should provide maximum thrust, that aircraft shouldn't stall, and it should land properly. Now we'll come to stalling. What is stalling? Stalling is something when the aircraft has to fly at a minimum speed which keeps the aircraft in air. Like the aircraft is having its own weight, but the lift which is provided by the wings and the thrust which is provided by the engines. So when the thrust, suppose if the thrust is less than the drag force which is provided by the front side of the aircraft. So what is going to happen? The aircraft will come down suddenly. Although it is flying, the engines are running, but still the speed of the aircraft will be minimum and it will come down, which is like it's a air crash. It will happen. A air crash will happen. So an aircraft has to fly at a minimum speed which varies according to load, which is like if it's a much heavier aircraft, then it will have to fly at a higher speed. But if the load is quite low, then it can even fly at say lower speed, but they cannot come beyond the stalling speed of the aircraft. So that is already the pilots are already aware of the stalling speed of the aircraft, so they keep it much higher than that, so that the air crash shouldn't happen. Am I clear what is stalling? Has everyone understood, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir, understood.
Okay. So coming to the next one is taxing. So what is taxing? Taxing means movement of the aircraft under its own power. So what happens that when the passengers, they board the aircraft, and after that the plane starts the takeoff procedure. So what is happening? That engines have started, and now the aircraft is moving under its own power to the runway position, starting position from where they will fly. Are you all aware of that? So during that time, accidents might occur due to air congestion. Air congestion is when the air traffic is too high, and there are lots of aircraft which are in queue to take order from the controlling tower, which is ATC, and after their clearance only they will fly. So you must have seen on Delhi airport as well as Mumbai airport, which are quite busier airports are there. So the aircraft are standing in line, and then they provide the takeoff, means they provide the clearance, and after that only the aircraft flies. So at that time it might happen that the wings of the aircraft might collide with some other aircraft, or you can say by some tower or something. So there will be a damage to the aircraft. And as per DCA rules also, and as per the safety procedures which are taken into consideration, so if any damage happens, so immediately that aircraft is brought back to the parking bay, and passengers are deboarded again, and then the aircraft is put on the station for overhauling and repairing of the loss which has happened to the aircraft immediately. And it can also happen due to miscalculation of pilots. So human errors are always there. So this is thing. And taxing, as I have told you, taxing means its own power. So taxiing means movement of the aircraft under its own power. So it might happen that sometimes what happens is that now plane has started from the parking bay and it is now moving under its own power, which is taxiing towards the takeoff point. So at the time, it might happen that again aircraft will stop and it is now at rest. So again, it will start and it will move forward. So that doesn't means that taxiing will cease if it is temporarily halted. If the aircraft is temporarily halted, it doesn't mean that taxiing is over. Taxiing is till the time it starts for takeoff and it lifts the land. Means the plane takes off and it leaves the land. So these were the taxiing risks. Now coming during the flight. So when the aircraft is in air, so what are the risks are involved? First is your engine failure. So engine might fail, and it can be due to anything. It can be due to a problem in say a fuel supplier, fuel supply, or you can say if any ingestion risk has happened. So engines can fail like that. So ingestion risk is also there, as we have all discussed this that. Any foreign object body can also get into the engine of the aircraft. Then air currents are there, as I explained it to you during stormy weathers, not in India, but most prevalent in European countries and Western countries like in USA. So air currents are quite high, and if suppose some tornado is there, so they can impact uh, with the flight operation. They can easily impact them. Then stormy weather is one of the reason. Night flying is also one of the dangerous operations. You can say the night flying is not so good because it requires specialized pilots. Because we cannot see the when we cannot see, the pilots also cannot see. So they are only flying on the presumption as well as on the nowadays they are having GPS options as well, and they're also having they also use ILS feature, which is instrument landing system, which is available at all the major airports, and which like guides the aircraft. Since the machine of the aircraft is so intelligent that it automatically aligns with the ILS of the airport, and it automatically aligns the plane in the landing position. You can say at whatever height it has to remain at certain position during landing. So plane comes to that position. It's like that, but still it requires specialized pilots. So nowadays also the Indigo, you must have heard recently about the Indigo problem which has started in the last 3-4 days. So all these are due to that night flying have been like decreased from 6 to 2 by the DGCA. Why it was that? To bring in more safety. Future means like that flying is more dangerous in night flying, so they have to stop that. And mostly the Indigo had that during morning and evening slot only, so that is why the impact was also quite high to that feature. Now ground risk. So ground risk is what? When the aircraft is parked in the hangar, and even when the aircraft is like parked, and when the passenger are deboarding through the passenger boarding bridges, you must have heard what is PBB. So basically, when we board the aircraft of any at any airport, so we go through the passenger boarding bridges are there, which are like they get aligned with the door of the aircraft, and we climb we board the aircraft like that. So that is also during that time what can happen: a fire can happen, earthquake damage can happen, flood can come, SRCC collision with mobile vehicles, and refueling risk. So collision risk are also there. Suppose there are some buses operating, and while turning, it collided, say, with the wing of the aircraft, or it touched the engine of the aircraft. So it might be possible. So these things are, so these is are during the ground. So whenever means what risks are we are covering during flight, during taxing, during grounding, and one last is there, which is moving, which we will also discuss here. This is because most of the questions come from these parts only, like what is mooring. Moored means in case of aircraft designed to land on water. You must have seen the seaplanes. Okay, has anyone seen the seaplane? Seaplane. What is seaplane? Has anyone seen? Has anyone sat in that aircraft? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, same.
Okay, yeah, you must have seen in the pictures as well, even in the videos as well, or even in the movies as well. So what happens? Suppose, like in Maldives, there are lots of resorts are there which are means they are built on the islands, and small islands are there, and they don't have this airport facility, but yes, they use seaplanes. So I remember when I was in aviation, so we used to underwrite MAT, which is Maldivian Air Taxi, which is the one of the you can say scheduled not non-scheduled airlines, so which was being operated there, and all the fleet was seaplane only. So these seaplanes, they have the capacity to take off from water as well as to land on the water as well. And of course, when it is mooring, is like mooring came from the marine hull portion where the boats are also tied to the jetty of the port. So like that, also the aircrafts are being means they are tied to the mooring. Small moors are there, so they are tied so that they should not float into mid sea or mid water due to the current of the water. So if the current of the water is high, if we haven't tied the aircraft, so what is going to happen that when the aircraft is floating on the water, so it will float away from the land, and in that way we will lose the aircraft because it is now in somewhere in the middle of the sea or middle of the river. So that is why it is this mode concept came. And when some of the brokers, when they see send us for underwriting, when any aviation risk comes at in our office for underwriting, so some of the brokers, they insist for giving mooring coverage for even for the aircraft which do not have the which are not designed to land on water, because they just do copy paste and everything like that. So we'll have to explain there, okay, sir, but mooring operations is always is designed for the aircraft which can land on water, so it is not applicable here. So normally it is flight risk, grounding risk, and taxiing risk are being covered, and mooring can be only covered apart from this grounding risk in seaplanes. In seaplanes, this taxiing is also there. The mooring is just the opposite of ground. Okay. So I hope you all have understood this thing concept. So these are some of the subject matters you must have seen. Fixed wing aircraft are being covered. Helicopters, rotor wings, of course, seaplanes are being covered. Balloons and gliders, normally they are not covered under aviation, means we are not covering any damage to the balloons or gliders. But of course, if the if they sometimes the we have got some of the few of the proposals where the operators of the balloons and gliders, they have asked for the third party liability to passengers. So of course we can consider them because of the mandatory guidelines as per the Public Liability Insurance Act as well. So we can cover them here. And of course, nowadays we are covering drones under aviation in New India as well as in other companies. So you all are aware what is drones. Drones are unmanned aerial vehicles which are basically uh, operated by a drone operator from land, and they can be used for various operations. They can fly at a very low altitude, very high. They can be used for surveillance. They can be used for uh, you can say for agriculture purposes as well. So like that. And next is your satellites. Satellites, of course, whenever in India any satellite takes off from ISRO or you can say Sriharikota, so those are mostly insured under the name of the satellite insurance. Even and they have a reinsurance support as well. Of course, India keeps a very small share on that, but it's a very profitable risk. And nowadays, I think in coming years, we will see the private companies also coming in this satellite picture. So not so whenever we issue a policy for satellite insurance, so it is insured in the name of the President of India. So these things are there. And last is your airport manufacturers fueling and refilling. So what is going to happen when, apart from aircraft, which we are normally covering under the aviation insurance, we also can see when we are at the airport. When we are at the airport and we are inside the aviation premise, you must have seen. So there are third-party other insurers are there, means other parties are there. You can. So there are other uh, parties are involved. Like when we are in the aircraft, you must have seen that our luggage, when we submit the luggage in check-in baggage, so that luggage is being taken by some of the airline operators as well, and some third-party operators are there, which are known as ground handlers. which are taking that that luggage to the you can say to the means they take it to the aircraft and they board means load the luggage in the aircraft. So those are known as ground handlers. Apart from that, ground staff is there. So like in Indigo or say Air India, they have their own ground operators. They have their own body. So like that. And apart from that, even for the passenger boarding bridges, these are being used. And I will explain it to you. Who are they? Like in filling, you must have seen Indian oil corporations are means we are issuing policies to air refilling liability policy is there. So whenever any refilling is being done by Indian Oil Corporation or HPCL in the aircrafts, so at that time there might be possibility of any loss or damage occurring to the aircraft or any third party due to their operations, and this might happen. And even for manufacturers, we are issuing the policy. But in India, we are not issuing any policy to any manufacturers. Of course, the Boeing and Airbus, they are being covered in US itself. And we are also issuing policies for airport owners and operators liability policy, where the whole airport operations is under the means under the control of the say GVK or Adani Group, or you can say even the Airport Authority of India. So like that. So all these things are being covered, but these are various liability policies which are totally excluded into the miscellaneous class of insurance, and that is why they are being covered under the aviation liability insurance. Now, these are some of the important aviation covers, like for aircraft policy being issued for aircraft hull and liabilities, space all risk for covering space, hull war risk cover is there, pilot crew and personal accident is cover is for only exclusively for pilot crew members, and pilot loss of license is also there. Airport owners and operators liability policy is there. Aircraft refueling liability policy is there. We also have a hull deductible insurance, which is very interesting. As you must be, I will explain it to you at a later stage. Um, Ground handlers liability insurance is there, excess wall liability is there, and satellite insurance is there. Uh, these are some of the policies which we are going to discuss one by one. And apart from that, in for the exam point of view, aircraft hull and liability, hull war risk liability, Group EA, crew loss of license, and excess wall liability. These are all basically important from the exam point of view. I will explain it to you all one by one. So now coming to the aviation laws. What are aviation laws and what is their purpose? Of course, whenever we are doing any kind of operation, either in India or throughout the world, we should be governed by some law and orders which we all have to follow. Like in marine cargo, we are following in the Incoterms because which govern the liability, whether the liability is with the buyer or with the seller at the time of loss. So likewise, for aviation also, we have the different laws which is related to say registration of the aircraft, certificate of airworthiness. These are all both the licensing of pilots engineers. So these first three are being taken care by DGCA. Registration of the aircraft, like whenever like we register motor cars or two wheelers, same way the aircraft are also being registered in India. The VT sign is being used. Uh, Certificate of airworthiness is being issued by the DGC as well. Airworthiness is nothing whether the aircraft is fit to fly or not. So this has to be issued by the DGC, which is Directorate Control of Civil Aviation, and licensing of pilots and engineers, which is like license, which is being issued to the pilots and the engineers, which are flight engineers, and they have they have certain point of degree and expertise where they can fly in the aircraft and they can be covered under the Group PA policy. Now, fourth is your carrier liability towards passengers, third party, and own employees. Of course, when you have issued carrier legal liability policies as well to the logistics companies. Likewise, we can issue policies to the aircraft operators who are carrying means they have the liability towards the duty of care. You must have heard about the duty of care concept in liability. Same way, so they have a duty of care towards passengers, third party, and own employees. So those are being covered here. use of the sky of various countries. Of course, when the aircraft is flying from one country to another country, so they use the airspace of that particular country, and for that manner, the IATA comes into the picture, International Air Transport, the National Air Transport Association. Yes. So this comes into the picture where they govern the flight, how the flight should take the route, whether it should fly through Pakistan or say it should fly from the sea route, like that. If any war starts between two countries, so normally the civil aviation, they avoid using that airspace because of the use of missiles which can struck their aircraft. And in the past, this has happened. You must all have heard about the MS-370 loss, and after that there was another loss which happened with the same MS-17. I think. Have you heard about that loss, MS-17? As is anyone aware of that? It happened, I think, in the month of March 15. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can anyone explain about the MS-17 loss? What happened in 2015? Has anyone idea about that? Okay, no issues. I will tell you. Don't worry. See what happened. One of the aircraft of Malaysian airline system, which is another international airlines for Malaysia. So the aircraft took off from Amsterdam, and I think it was going to Kuala Lumpur or somewhere. Yes, it was going to Beijing. So what happened when the aircraft was crossing the Ukraine and Russia border? Suddenly, that plane means the people below the on the ground on the field, they saw the parts of the aircraft falling from the sky, and they couldn't understand. So later on, of course, when the this happened, the investigations happened. So very soon we came to know that one of the missiles was fired from the
या फोटो मध्ये
Ukrainian
तरी
land,
आपण
or you
कोणाला
can say
दिसतो
from the Russian land, and that hit
एक
the
कमी झालं
from which means from which
फोटो पे हाँ
airspace it took
फोटो
off,
पे जो
but
अपने
that
डाल दिया
missile actually hit the.
बेटा जाते कर कोई दिखा होगा है तो हम बाहर आ जाते हैं
Sir, I would again request everyone to keep mic on mute and video on in off position, sir. Yeah. So what happened that missile actually struck the aircraft, and it came on ground, and it was all due to the operation safety measures. And later on, when the investigation happened, it means we all came to know that it was all due to a missile operation, and all the loss was being paid by the war underwriters, aviation war underwriters. So they actually paid the losses. These are some of the civil aviation authorities of different countries. DGCA is for India. Federal of Aviation Administration is for USA. For Europe, it is JAA. For Australia, it is Civil Aviation Australian State of Aviation, like that. So, and for Canada, it is Transport Canada. So these are some of the civil aviation authorities of different countries. For our purpose, it is only DGCA, which will be asked. Like for DGCA, it is a principal regulatory body in the field of civil aviation. ISCO, which is International Civil Aviation Organization, was formed in 1944. It looks into the aspects of development of infrastructure, safe and economical transport, etc. What is IATA? It stands for International Air Transport Association, and it was formed in 1945. Aircraft Act 1934 was also into the picture, which is used mainly for control of manufacturing, possession, use, operation, sale, export, and import of aircraft. Then in India, Aircraft Rule 1937 came to the picture, which was applicable to aircraft registered in India and aircraft used in India. But later on, it was handled by the DGCA. Now coming to the rating portion, how the rates are being decided for the aviation line of business. So first is the premium rate. So it varies according to the type of the aircraft. If it is a fixed wing, the rates are quite lower. When it is a rotor wing, its rates are quite high. Year of construction is also important. When it's a new aircraft, of course, rates will be quite low. If it's an old aircraft, say 15 to 20 years old, then of course the rates will be quite high. Then what's the past record? The past record is also important. Suppose it also shows the moral hazard uh, of the operator who's operating the aircraft. It might be possible that that particular operator might have due to the safety protocols not being followed by him or her. So there might be 3-4 losses which might have occurred in the last 10 years. But others who are following the safety protocols and they are insisting more on safety operations, so they're having lesser losses. Pilot experience is also important in this row. When the pilot is more experienced, they can easily fly the aircraft, and if they are less experienced, they are bound to make mistakes and losses can happen. So that is why when we say the captain of the aircraft, they should have say certain number of hours, say 2000 hours of flying experience, and then they must have 100 hours on make and model, which makes that for that particular make and model they must have 100 hours, and in total they can have 2000 more than 2000 hours of flying experience, which can which shows from their experience of the pilot. So that makes them a captain of the aircraft. And the co-pilot, which is the another person, so who is sitting just beside the pilot, they can have a lesser experience because they are still learning, but they are providing assistance to the main captain of the aircraft, and captain duty is that they should also provide training to the co-pilot in order to gain experience. So sometimes it happens that while landing or taking off, the role is being given to the co-pilot, and captain does the role of the co-pilot. So in that way, the co-pilot also gains the experience how we have to land, how we have to do in certain scenarios, how we have to operate. So it's all like that. Last is a geographical limit. So geographical limit is also important when it is flying in say India, so it's okay safer. But if suppose it is in going through a Pakistan airspace, or say it is flying through Ukraine, so it's a much dangerous operation. So rates can be high. Next is your passenger rate. See, this is not so important, but just for your knowledge purpose, the passenger rates are how. So what is happening? So in the airlines operation, apart from prior to that, I will explain what is airlines and what is scheduled operations. So airlines is something which are flying on scheduled operations, like whether the whether the passengers are sitting or not sitting in the aircraft. The aircraft will take off at a certain fixed time. It's like the same is like the liners and trams in the like the hull. So same is with the airlines and the scheduled operations. So airlines, you understood. So mostly it's aircraft which is flying at scheduled operations, whether or not the passengers will sit in the aircraft. And scheduled operations, which are also known as NSOP, which is non-scheduled operations. So why it is NSOP? Because it is a non-scheduled operation, and it will only fly when the passenger will come and sit in the aircraft. So from a directing point of view, you can say that airlines are much safer because they have scheduled operations. And from general aviation point of view, the general aviation, or you can say the NSOP operators, so they are little bad risk. So in that way, when we rate the aircraft airlines, which is only being done by internationally by London markets. So they have been pioneers in that. They have their own records. They have the underwriting data available with them for the last say 50 years, and they are quite well versed with the industry scenarios, how rating has to be done. So they calculate the passenger rate, which is RKPM, is this revenue passengers kilometers. So we can say that if we need to underwrite in airlines, so we'll ask the airline operator how many passengers you are estimating for the forthcoming year, and how much will be your flight operations. Suppose they calculate like that manner, so they have their own team which calculates like that. Just a second, we'll have a water. So passenger rate is calculated at RKPM, which is revenue passenger kilometers. So the number of passengers, total number of passengers into the number of kilometers which the flight will take off, and a certain rate is applied to that, and the premium comes in that with manner. And apart from that, hull rate is also applied on the aircraft agreed value. What is the aircraft agreed value? See, I will again explain one thing to all of you. So when we ask about or discuss about aviations, so aviation is basically an agreed value policy. So which means that at the time of claim, we will never ask you for any invoice or anything like that. Whatever amount is agreed between the insured and insurer, so that is final, and that will be taken into the picture and while settling the total loss claim. That is known as aircraft agreed value. So despite whatever value you are having in your books of account, that is one thing, but the actual aircraft agreed value is to be declared by you, and the hull rate has to be applied on that aircraft agreed value. Now, product liability rates are there. So we also issue aviation product liability policies. What is aviation product liability policies? Like any manufacturer who are producing products, goods and services for the aircraft operations. So all those things comes under the product liability of the aviation. So, but remember one thing, that whenever we are talking about product liability, so of the aviation, these are totally excluded in the business class of insurance, and that is why, because their treaty doesn't cover the aviation risk, and that is why we have a separate treaty for the product liability rates, and we are issuing the policies to them, and it is mandatory as per the DCA norms. So any aviation operator, or you can say aviation product manufacturer, so they have to compulsorily take this policy. And sometimes the brokers, in order to, because they just want to place the business, what they are doing nowadays, if I have also seen it and observed it at my end when I was in aviation, and nowadays also. So I have seen that these brokers are actually issuing them CGL policy, which is not a correct policy. Okay. Only reason is that this CGL policies comes under the business class of insurance. Innovation is totally excluded, but just to provide a benefit of premium to the client, so the brokers are issuing these policies, and client is also not aware till the time the claim comes, and they means they come to know at that time point of time that it is not possible. So this thing is there. Claim is not payable at that time. So product liability rates are whether means are applicable, or whether the product manufacturer is critical or non-critical product. Of course, if it is a critical product, what is a critical product? When it is used for the, it means any product which is related to the engine of the aircraft, say APO of an aircraft, or say any part which is integrated in the aircraft engine. Or a non-critical product is like the body of the aircraft, or you can say a seat cover for an aircraft. So those can be considered as a non-critical product because they are just they are providing addition. There's just an addition for the aircraft, so it has nothing to do with the flying operation. It will not going to hamper the operation of the aircraft. Value of airport and volume of production. So value of aircraft is also important. Like if we are manufacturing a product, say for a Boeing manufacturer, okay, and we are supplying to USA. Now, what is going to happen? Obviously, those parts will be fitted in, say, Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Now, Boeing 787 Dreamliner can run up to 1,500 crore, 200,000 crore of the value. So, like that. Say it can run up to $100 million, $150 million also, if it's a very high, big aircraft. And if it happens that due to your product, only this aircraft came down and loss of lives happened. So if we are legally liable, we have to shade off a very huge amount, and that is why this product liability rates come to the picture, and it depends on the value of the aircraft. If it is used only on a small aircraft, obviously the risk is quite low. Then we are okay, fine. And volume of production, of course, this is again important. Volume production is also related to your turnover. So if the turnover is high, it means that you are means your business is growing, and there is possibility that in the near future also the exposure also increasing. And again, it is related to exposure only. So in future, it might happen that at the next renewal, we are going to increase the sum insured, or our exposure is going to increase. So these things are there. And this is to how the old aircrafts are rated, like the components parts clause, in which the maximum percentage for each and every part is being given, and only total loss should be given. Nowadays, it is not used, so it is not rated to exam point of view. I am skipping it. Now coming to the rating of new aircrafts, whenever new aircraft is being made, suppose Tejas is indigenously built in India. Of course, we are not underrating it because it is covered, means it is under the Ministry of Defense. It comes under Indian Air Force, so it is self-insured, and we are only insuring the commercial aircrafts in India. But suppose any new aircraft operations, or you can say if any, there are one or two manufacturer there, HAL is there again, and I remember one more operator is there who are basically into designing the new aircrafts in India, and they are making the prototype of the aircraft, and test pilots are there. Of course, it's very riskier, and test pilots are there. So those pilots means they test the aircraft, and if there is no problem in that aircraft, then only it comes into the you can say into the operations. So why rates are quite high? Because the previous claim experience is not known. Of course, there's no previous operation because it's a very new aircraft. And previously, jumbo jets were rated high. Now, jumbo jets, when they came into the picture, when they were designed, at that time nobody knew how whether they will be safe or they will be very you can say they will be very dangerous. So there was no prior experience. So in initial days, the rates were quite high, but later on, with quite experience, after certain hours of flying, so all came to know, no, these are very safe, and the probability of losses is quite low. That is why now gradually the rates came down for them. So methods of parking: light aircrafts are susceptible to such as helicopters and gliders are susceptible to storm, lightning, hurricane, and if they are in open, so that is why hangar facilities are there, and underwriting should be special inquiries about hangar facilities should be done while underwriting this is. So if the aircraft is kept in a hangar, it's just like a garage of your car, and your aircraft will be much safer there. But you must have observed that bigger aircrafts, the space for this hangar is not there. But suppose someone is having, say, Reliance Industry, so they have their own hangar, they have their own fleet of aircrafts, which are rotor wing as well as your fixed wing as well. But they have their own hangar facilities at the various airports, say at Delhi or say Mumbai, wherever they fly. So they purchase the space from the AI and they pay the fees to them, and they keep their aircraft there so that it should be much safer. We'll skip this one. It's not related to exams. Yeah. So we'll discuss about the important clause. These are some of the important clauses, which of course, we are going to discuss now in in another slide. But for namesake basis, you just understand ANC stands for policy wordings for hull liabilities. For hull war liabilities, it is LSW 555D is being used. This is addition clause 19A, 48B, war hijacking and other perils exclusion clause. So these clauses are very important from the exam point of view. I request everyone to go through these clauses in my slides as well, and you can read there. And I will explain each and every one also to you. Even 52E. So this is more important from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. These clauses come in those sections, this scale exams. Even 52E is extended coverage endorsement, again very, very important. From even 48B is also important. Even 73, again, it is very important, liability of pilots and crew. And even 74 is also there. So the last time also this question came from even 74 from 3 to 4. Hull always policy. So under hull always policy, there are three sections: loss or damage to the aircraft, third party liability, passenger liability. Then these are kinds of liabilities which are being covered when the aircraft operations are there. I will explain it to you in another slide, so don't worry. I'm just reading it fast, but I will explain it in another slide in detail right now. So these are all parts of your combined single liability, like third party liability, passenger liability. Of course, when passengers are sitting in an aircraft, their liability was also covered. cargo liability. When we are sending one cargo from one state to another state or from one country to another country, that cargo liability is also there. Baggage of the passengers is also loaded in the aircraft, so that liability is also covered. And any other liability towards damage or injury to third party, this is again considered under the CSL of the policy. Now, this is hull war and allied peril this policy. So SWR policy, where we are covering two sections. First is loss of damage to the aircraft, which is hull. Section 2 is for extortion and hijacking. Exclusions is war between these five countries, if any. War happens between these five countries, which is USA, France, Russia, England, and China. So these are exclusions. Nuclear loss is exclusion. Delay, loss of use, or any other consequential loss is not covered. Of course, loss of use and consequential loss is totally excluded under the division risk. Space or risk. The subject matters are engines, spare parts, and equipments of the aircraft. So when the engines and spare parts are not part of the aircraft, when they are not fitted in the aircraft, they are kept as separate. So at a time they become the spares. They are not considered aircraft part. Like if any engine has been dismantled from the aircraft for overhauling operations, and after dismantling that has been kept, say, in a parking bay or say at a hangar. So at the time the storage is there, and that is why it is not a part of aviation hull, and it will be covered under your space all risk policy. While in transit by air, sea, road, or rail, hull deductible is there. Sum insured is hull deductible under hull all risk. So hull deductible is a policy. Why it is important? So whenever we are covering whenever we are covering aviation hull liability policy, so say for Indigo Airlines. So Indigo Airlines is having a fleet of A319 and A320 aircrafts. These are wide-bodied aircrafts, but they have a single L in between. And apart from that, they are wider-bodied as well, like Boeing 787 or say Boeing 77 or Boeing 757. So these are having two or more Ls in between them. Two Ls are there. So those are quite wide-bodied. So what is happening? As per the model of the aircraft, the deductible is different for each and every aircraft. And say in our example for Indigo, for A319 and A320, the deductible is around $750,000, which is still quite high. So under hull deductible policy, we are covering a limit of say 700 million in excess of 50 million. So it is the layer is like this: the 700 million in excess of 50 million. Sorry, $50,000. $750,000 in excess of $50,000. So again, under hull deductible policy, under the hull always policy, the deductible is say $750,000. Okay, I will give you a clear example. Under the hull always policy, the deductible is say $750,000, which means around you can say it's a quite high amount. I think around 5 to 6 crores it will come. No, if I'm not wrong. So $750,000 is quite high for airline operators. So any total loss happens. So these losses will not come in that policy. So under hull deductible policy, we will issue a separate hull deductible policy where the smaller losses of lower frequency, say up to $750,000 losses, will come into the picture. I will explain with an example as well. But still, that hull deductible policy is also having a deductible of $50,000, which has to be borne by the insured. So right now, if you will take a $90 rate, so I think $1 lakh will be around 50,000. So hello, yeah. So under hull deductible policy, yeah. So I will tell you just a second. So at the current rate, it is coming at around 4,50,000, 45 lakh rupees. So it's still quite high. The $50,000 for an airline operator comes to around 45 lakhs. So up to 45 lakhs, any losses which is happening to the aircraft, that will be borne by the operator itself. But yes, any losses beyond that, but up to 700 million, 7 lakh dollars. So that will be covered under your hull rate 12 policy. Like bird ingestion damages. So these are quite low in frequency, but the amount is quite low. Say smaller losses of say $1 lakh or $2.5 lakh. This such kind of losses come, but they cannot fall under your hull or list. That is why the hull policy is being taken. But again, it is very costly policy, and you can say the almost it takes up to the 50% of the whole risk. The premium is almost as good as the 50% of the total of the premium. So it's like that. Some of the operators take it, like Air India or Indigo, but other they don't take it like that. Again, loss of license policy is there, which is persons which are having valid license are being issued by DGCA or similar authorities and should be a resident of India or working in India under the employment scheme of any company in India. Age limit is 18 to 65 years, but it may be extended up to 70 years, but it depends on the underwriter only whether they want to continue or not. See, normally DGCA allows them beyond 65 years if they have a good vision and if they are medically fit to fly the aircraft. And these are some of the charts there, where table A, table B. I will explain it to them in another slide. These are definitions of them. What is bodily injury? What is illness? Classified illness. Then exclusions are there. This is aviation PA. And this is the table. There are three tables here. Table A is death table. Table B is death PTD and TTD. And table C is the table B and PPD. Any questions?
Sir, if you can share some questions related to exam.
Yeah, sure. I will share them. Currently, I will provide it after some time. Yeah, don't worry. I will share with you all. Okay. Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Sure. I will ask you all some of the questions. I will tell them you important topics as well. Okay. Are you able to see the screen, sir? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So now we will go policy wise. And in the previous slide, we understood how the aviation works. What are the major, you can say the policies are there. But now we will deal with them one by one. First is your aviation insurance products. What kinds of aviation products which are mainly available for aviation insurance? So aviation insurance products are divided into four main categories. First is the property. What is the property of the property in aviation insurance? Can anyone explain? What is property here?
It's aircraft, sir.
It's the aircraft itself, of course.
Body aircraft, yes.
Yes. So
Aircraft
aircraft, yes. Aircraft is the property, which
and
is
airport also, sir.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Aircraft is there. So very importantly, you all are correct. So here, whenever we are covering loss or damage to an aircraft, so it is comes under your property insurance of the aviation insurance product. Second is your personal. In personal, we have two kinds of policies. First is your aviation crew PA, and then another is your loss of license policy. This comes under your personal liability policies. Personal accident policies. Third is your liability policy. So under liability policies, we are issuing various policies related to, say, airport operators and owners liability policy, aviation refueling liability policy. Then we are issuing different kinds of you can say a third-party liability is there, passenger liability is there, cargo legal liability is there, baggage legal liability is there. So all these are part of liability only, which we are covering in the aviation insurance. And others are there. So in others, we can discuss, say, hull excess war, and last is your hull detriment policies. This comes under the others kind of types of policies under the aviation. Now, aviation insurance property. So there are three kinds of policies which are issued for aircraft. First is your hull all risk. Then second is your hull war risk. Third is your space all risk insurance. And we will discuss all these three in detail here in the next slides. Now, first is your aircraft hull all risk insurance policy. As the name suggests, aircraft, which is the aircraft, which is covered. Hull is the body of the aircraft is covered, and all risk. All risk means any risk which is not excluded in the policy. All kinds of risks are covered under this policy. So this is very important. So the subject matter of this insurance is the aircraft itself, and we shall confine our discussions to small aircrafts, those falling in the category of general aviation. Why? Because normally the airline operators, the question will never come from that, because those are being taken care by, as I told you earlier, that the underwriting is being done by the London underwriters. The Lloyd's market is there. They are quite versed with the risk, and that is why our confinement is only related to the general aviation. General aviation is nothing. It's a non-scheduled operations, and those are smaller aircraft, business jets, helicopters, which are being covered here, and we will discuss them here itself. First is your section 1, which is loss or damage to the aircraft. Now, what we are covering? We are covering the accidental loss or damage to the aircraft. So, like the fire insurance, where we say that along with the fire, any damage happening due to fire brigade, or you can say the throwing of the furniture out to minimize the losses, all those are covered. Likewise, when the loss of damage to aircraft happens, so any loss or damage to the aircraft, that is absolutely discovered. But apart from that, say any cost related to dismantling that aircraft and building into the nearest hangar, so that cost is being covered. Then cost in securing that area, suppose in particular field that aircraft fell, so but to stop the villagers from going to that crash site, so we'll have to put guards there, so those costs has to be borne by the airline operator, that aircraft operator, and that those losses are also covered, and these are part of the aviation losses itself, and they are covered under the section 1 only. And these are in excess of the aircraft agreed value. It is not the part, they are in excess, means they are in separate. And coverage while the aircraft is in flight, when it is taxiing, when it is grounded, or it is moved. I've already explained you what are these 4 kinds of coverages. So these are there. Now, a company has an option to pay for. Now, they're very important. Please try to understand. Company has option to pay for. Means they are not bound to pay, but they have an option to pay for, replace or repair accidental loss or damage to the aircraft. So what is happening sometimes, in few of the instances, say a helicopter has crashed, but they have crashed from a very low height, say from 20 feet height. But now, in India, as we all believe in superstition, so the operator of the aircraft might question that no, since this helicopter has crashed once, I will not go for repair. I will purchase a new helicopter, and you please settle, please consider it for a total loss and settle me the full amount of the helicopter. So whether the company is going to pay or not, tell me. And it's a partial loss only. Can anyone please explain? Is it possible for company to pay the full amount, full total loss? Can
No,
insurance
sir.
company? No. Yes, of course, because that is not the way it behaves. So in that way, if okay, the company will say, okay, fine. If you are not going to use this aircraft or repair this aircraft, we can sell it for say cash flow settlement, and you can go that in that way. So that is why the company has option to pay for. That is why this sentence is very important. Option to pay for. And it is not like they have to bind. Okay, but suppose loss is more, means the repair cost is almost 90%, and it is considered as a constructive total loss. So the surveyor says no, by repairing, also this aircraft will not work in that manner, and it's a 90% loss is already there. So we'll consider it as a total loss. So then company also agrees and they take expert opinions and then they consider it as a total loss. And besides the agreed value of the aircraft, what are the different kinds of expenses which are also payable? As I explained to you, wash and ward expenses for the damaged aircraft. Wash and ward expenses are what? Suppose the aircraft has been damaged and now it is lying at the crash site. Till the local authorities come. So even if they come, they will have to first look out for dead bodies, and those have to be, or the means the persons who are injured, first they have to be taken out from that crash site, and they have to be taken to hospitals for further treatment. But after that also, for the next 5 to 10 days, uh, the those items with the aircraft debris is kept there like that in the same position, so that the local investigation agencies from various agencies, like from like in India, they come from AIB, which is Aircraft Air Accident Investigation Bureau, set up by DGCA. It's a government body, and also from international market as well. Like if the aircraft which has crashed belongs to say Airbus or say Boeing. So from that company also, the engineers can come and they can investigate. The authorities from those companies can also come and they can investigate the matter. So to prevent further damage to the aircraft, so wash and ward expenses are being settled here. Transportation of necessary materials, components, personnel to site of accident. Now transportation charges are also being borne here. Then third is transportation of aircraft from accident site to repair workshop. This is also being covered here. And fourth is your, if flight is covered, obviously then test flights are also be covered. Now this is very important. What is flight risk and what is test flight can also be covered. Has anyone has idea? What does this mean?
Sir, test flights may be the testing of the aircraft just after the preparation or manufacture of crafts.
Uh, no, thank you, Puneet, for your answer. But here
After
it means
after repair of the flight,
absolutely correct, ma'am.
the
Absolutely correct.
final test.
So what is happening here? Say after a loss. So it's a partial loss only. Say it's a partial loss. Now aircraft has been repaired up. So what is happening? I will tell you. When the aircraft crashes now, so the certificate of airworthiness of the aircraft automatically it's like it gets suspended. You can say it is over. The validity is complete. Like it's whether it is again worthy, whether it is worthy to fly or not, that will be checked at the time of repairing, when the aircraft has been repaired, and then the test flights are being done. So these repairing are being done by MRO facilities, which is maintenance, repair, and overall. In India, there are few operators are there. Like Air India is there for bigger aircraft, but other ones are Airworks Limited is there. So these are like certified MRO facilities. They have various hangars in Mumbai, Delhi, where these aircrafts are brought down in dismantled condition. See, for smaller aircrafts, we can dismantle them. Like helicopters can be sent in dismantled position. They can be sent there. They can be again repaired, and they can be reassembled there. So these things are there. Sometimes the client purchases a new helicopter from, say, overseas, say from Russia or say from USA, but they can bring that helicopter. See, in one go, that helicopter cannot come to India. That is for sure. So either they choose two options. First is your by flying that aircraft from that country to our country, and again, uh, and the pilots which are used, they are ferry. That flight is known as ferry flight, and the ferry pilots are also there, which are international pilots, but they are not Indian pilots since the aircraft is still in different country. And second option is by dismantling that helicopter and bringing it to that India by road, or say by air, or say by sea. That is always possible. That will be covered under your marine policy. It will be not be covered under your aviation policy. But once that helicopter is being reassembled, after the packaging has been opened and the investigators they see, okay, now there is no damage to the during transit. So the risk attaches in the aviation hull policy when the reassembling starts. These are some important points, as you all are aware of marine cargo as well. So these things come into the picture. So when the losses happen, so after repair, the test flights are being done. So test flights are done in two stages. First is the own pilots of that operator will fly the helicopter or say the aircraft, and then the concerned pilots, the test pilots from the DGCA, they will come and they will fly the aircraft. After which the certificate of airworthiness is being issued to the persons. Now, last point is also important. Proportional cost for obtaining certificate of airworthiness as applicable from date of expiry till policy, till expiry. So what is happening, as I explained it to you, once the crash happens, the certificate of airworthiness ceases. The validity of the certificate of airworthiness ceases. But to obtain that certificate of airworthiness, the airline operators have to shed off a huge amount of money, which, like, they have lost that amount. So that proportional cost from the date of accident till expiry for that particular aircraft, after repairing of that aircraft, that proportional cost is also being paid by the insurance company because that loss has happened. Am I clear? Hello? Are you all able to understand, sir? If any doubt, please ask.
Yes, clear, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. We'll move next slide. Yeah. So force majeure. Now this is very important thing. What is force majeure? Sometimes this question comes in exam as well. What is force majeure? Is anyone aware of this thing? What does force majeure means? Okay, I will explain it to you. Force majeure means when an aircraft, when we are discussing here about the aircraft, so when an aircraft is not in the control of the pilot, like even if the pilot is giving it a command to slow down the aircraft or the thrust is being lowered, still the engines are running at a very high speed. Like the controls are not working properly. The hydraulics of the aircraft have, like, they have crashed. They are not working in any way, and the pilot is not able to control the aircraft. It is not in his care control. So that alighting cost of dismantling and assembly, even if the aircraft is not damaged. So those costs are also being borne by the insurance company if there is no damage to the aircraft, but alighting cost of dismantling and assembly. Once, like, suppose at the takeoff time, before the takeoff happens, so the pilot does certain checks for that aircraft, and he finds that okay, the the aircraft is not working, or it is not working. Suppose I am giving means the command for high speed, but the engines are not moving at high speed. So at that time, so the cost of dismantling and assembling the aircraft is also covered, although it is not damaged. So these things are there. Space all risk is sometimes included as part of all risk section. And so what is space all risk? As I explained it to you, see, every aircraft it is related to engine portion. So after certain life cycles, say 15,000 hours of flying, that engine has to be dismantled from the aircraft, and it has to be sent for overhauling and repairing. So in India, we have seen lots of cases like that. For certain helicopter operators, what happens, that aircraft is dismantled, the engine is dismantled, and then it is sent by courier, like by air, and it is covered under your marine as well. But under, if you will cover it as under marine policy, marine cargo policy, what is going to happen? Why we shouldn't cover it under marine cargo policy? Sir, anyone can explain, please? This is another important thing I want to ask. Hello? Can it be covered under marine
Can you
cargo
repeat the
policy?
question?
Ma'am, I'm asking you, like you all, like when the aircraft is there, okay. Now, after certain life cycles, the engine needs to be sent for overhauling to, say, Canada from India. So that engine is dismantled from that aircraft, and it is now to be sent to, say, Canada, say to Pratt and Whitney. So there they will do the overhauling work. But whether we can cover that engine under marine cargo policy or not, or why should we take a separate space always policy? Does anyone have any idea regarding that? Can it be covered under marine cargo policy or not? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Why?
Not in cargo because it is a part of aircraft. And
That's okay,
cargo
ma'am.
is
But
except
ma'am, it's an engine. It's an engine. So it's a machine only. It can be covered. Where it is
Sir,
excluded?
it
Where it
will
is
be
mentioned.
covered under spares section of aviation, na?
Ma'am, that is.
Aviation policy.
But why it can't be covered under your marine cargo policy? Because it's a machine. You can send it very well. It's only an engine part. It's not the whole aircraft. Under marine cargo
Logically,
policy, we are doing. We can send it to USA or any country, and we can cover it there as well. But does anyone has
Sir,
idea?
only maritime perils will be covered in marine policy, sir. If any other damages happen, it will not be covered.
No, ma'am. We can give
sir,
ICCA.
logically it should be
ICCA
covered.
air is there. No, ma'am. ICCA air is there. So suppose it is
Sir,
sent by air. ICCA air is there. Then even if you are sending it by vessel, say by sea, it is going. We are issuing ICCA here
sir,
also.
logically it should be covered.
Ma'am,
But
I will.
then,
This is a very interesting thing.
but
I will explain to you all why it is not being covered there and why it is covered here. In why we are issuing a separate space always policy for them. Ma'am, in marine cargo policy, whenever we are covering any machine, any kind of machine, whether it is engine or not, engine, they are engine, so engine is a machine. Okay. You are all okay with that? You can understand? Hello?
yes,
Yes, sir.
yes,
Any
sir.
engine is considered as a machine only, no? So when we are covering a machine under your marine cargo policy, first thing which comes into the clause which is being attached is issued second-hand clause. So that machine is the inventory of that machine is considered not on agreed value basis but on market value basis. So again, when it will be considered on market value basis, so that will be a loss to the operator. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is why we are actually avoiding under your marine cargo policy. We are not issuing this policy because once we will cover it there, so the basis on inventory will be on market value basis and not on agreed value basis. So this is a major difference why we are issuing space or risk policy, because under aviation all kinds of policies are on agreed value basis and there is no question of any invoice or any market value basis or anything. So the moment that aircraft is say dismantled from the aircraft and now it is being lowered by the say the high loader jack. Okay, so why load while it is being lowered from the aircraft or while it is being attached to the aircraft, it again falls back and the damage to the space happens. So that will not be covered under your aviation, but it will be covered under your space always. So when it is being dismantled, once it is dismantled and it is coming down and loss happens, so at that time any loss to that engine will be covered under your space always. But vice versa, when that engine is now okay and now it is again being refitted in that aircraft and it is now being taken upwards by using a high loader jack or high loader truck. Okay, now it is being now it will be it is jack is sending it up and it will be fitted in the aircraft for further operation. So at that time, what is going to happen if any damage is going happening, or say that jack comes down or it fails, that there will be a physical damage to the engine, and at that time, that loss will be covered under your hull always policy. Please remember, because why is this difference? Because that now when it is now being raised for being attached to that aircraft, it is only part of the hull. So this is a major difference. I am just explaining to you. It might not come, but only this is for your knowledge purpose. So this is there. This thing is there.
So, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am, please.
So, in marine, we do cover the second-hand machinery also,
Absolutely correct, ma'am.
right?
Right.
And though it is an agreed value policy,
Mhm.
okay, but then for second-hand machinery also, it is like though we have agreed for aviation also, if the operator agrees with the value
Yes, ma'am.
according to its, because it is now a second-hand machine, of course. So even if it is by the valuation system, by the valuers and the engineers, if the market price of it is being decided, or let's say we decided, then why can't we cover it under cargo,
No, ma'am.
marine cargo?
See, no, absolutely correct, ma'am. I will again explain it to you all. See, when under marine cargo policy, we are covering machine. See, this is a used machine, as you all know that it is being
Correct.
overhauling. So it is used machine. It's not a new machine. So of course, the second-hand clause will be attached in that policy, that marine policy. The when it will be attached, ma'am. So this question of agreed value basis doesn't come into the picture. It will be on the market value basis.
Market value.
If when the loss will happen, or say any damage loss or damage happens during the transit, so in the basis on entry will be only on the market value basis. So this will be again a big loss for the operator because they are having a huge excess as well, and it is not on agreed value basis. But under space all this policy, of course, we issue this policy on agreed value basis, and directive is hardly $5,000. $5,000 is nothing. It's a very small amount. 3.5 lakh rupees only. So that is the main thing. That is why we are showing this space always policy. This is very important because sometimes I also think like why it shouldn't be covered there. So then,
Means they can do the valuation, na?
yes,
Means but on market value basis also, if the operator wants to sell that engine or machine, of course he will get the market value, not the agreed value. If he or she goes to the market and tries to sell that second-hand engine to
yes,
another company or any other
of
operator,
course,
they will go for market value. Okay,
absolutely correct,
he will not
absolutely
or
correct.
she will not buy from you just because you are agreeing it for $1 lakh or
Exactly,
whatever,
exactly, exactly. Yes, ma'am.
right? So if we do the market valuation and by the help of assistant experts and valuers like they do in the other valued policies, we can come to a agreed value, sum insured that this should be covered under marine cargo if suppose they
Okay.
want to.
But mostly, ma'am, what in India, I think in other companies as well, when such kind of proposals come for insurance, because sometimes brokers also insist us to issue the policy, but then I explain to them, this is the clear factor is there, because at that time you will not say, okay, the risk is quite high. Like in
Correct.
marine cargo policies, the rates are hardly 0.03%,
Right,
or
right.
say you will charge say 5 paisa for this kind of rate. But in space always normally the rates vary from 20 paisa to 30 paisa. So that
Okay.
is quite high rate as compared to the halal risk. So mostly means I have seen in some of the generation days where the client had not taken the space policy at the time of issuance of this policy, halal risk policy, then they had taken this policy at midterm, like for a special case for overhauling operations. Then we have issued it, but when there we have charged quite a high rate, means
Correct.
around 30 paisa like that. So that is the main thing.
Okay,
So,
sir. Thank you.
and one more thing, I will explain it to you. When we are covering space always, so we are covering two sections are there. First is your storage, second is your uh, in transit. So transit, I will explain it to you. In storage as well, it's the same case because one can ask you why we can't issue a fire policy for that, correct? Because it can be stored in a godown under section 6. Then again, this thing will come into picture that there is no market value. Sorry, there is no agreed value basis under the fire policy, but under the space always it is always a agreed value basis. No, these things are there. So so under hull space liability policy, this section comes. Policy restricts indemnity for test flights, cost of airworthiness certificate, force major expenses, minor repairs to 10% of the aircraft value or less. So these are some of the additional expenses which are being settled under the policy, which is test flight, cost for test flight, say for cost of airworthiness certificate, force major expenses, any minor repairs up to 10%, which are covered in the event 76 of the supplementary payment clause of the aircraft. Now, these are some of the exclusions. Just go through the wear and tear. Normal. These are normal things like electrical, mechanical, structural breakdown. Normal wear and tear is not covered. Gradual deterioration is not covered. Defect or failure cost in any unit of the aircraft and consequences thereof. So, dynamo clause is again here. So, please suppose any dynamo clause you all are aware. So, it is applicable here as well. That if any defect or failure occurs in any unit of the aircraft, so that unit is not covered, but consequences thereof are covered due to that part. So damage to any unit by anything which has progressive cumulative effect, for example, tail or rotor blade tip off. These are all exclusions. Next is your damage attributable to a single recorded incident is however covered, which is bird hit is covered. Accidental damage and policy has an inbuilt excess or deductible, which is like borne by the insured as his contribution towards the claim in the event of a loss. So when we discuss about excess, so for fixed wings it is hardly 0.5% of the claim amount, but for and it can vary from 0.5 to say 1% or 1.5%. But for rotor wing, it can go up to 5%. 5% is standard. 5% of the claim amount is standard for each and every loss, including all forms of total loss. But under fixed wing, the total loss is excluded, and in case of total loss, full amount there is no excess under the total loss under fixed wing. So no excess is applied for the total loss. The full amount is paid, but under rotor wing, the deductible is being deducted from the claim amount for each and every loss. Section 2 is a third-party liability. So see, there are three sections. First is section loss or damage to the aircraft. Section 2 is third-party liability, which is other than passengers and the crew members. So legal liability of insured towards third party bodily injury and property damage. So these are there, which is caused by an aircraft or any person or any crew member or any passenger of the sitting in the aircraft. Maximum liability is specified in the schedule. Of course, TP claims are being governed by the law of the country. This is again important. Exclusions. The liability in respect of employee, director, partner is excluded, but we can cover them on payment of additional premium. We can cover them. Nowadays, we are covering them under all the general aviation policies. Passengers in the insured aircraft. See, when the passengers sitting in the aircraft, our normal PA policy is also covering them, but their liability is also covered under Section 3, which we will discuss in next section. Then crew, cabin, and cockpit, they are excluded, but they can be covered on using Event 73 clause, which is liability to crew and pilots. So when we attach Event 73 clause, we are covering crew members as well under this policy. Then insured own property or property in his care, control, and custody is not covered here. This is absolutely excluded. Section 3 is passenger liability. Section 3 covers the passengers who are sitting in an aircraft and while entering, they are boarding the aircraft, while they are alighting in the aircraft, or they are in the course of carriage. Carriage is like when they are going in a bus, which is a transit bus, which are taking them from the airport till the aircraft place on the runway, like that. In the parking bay, the aircraft is standing, so they will take it by carriage. Like there are AC buses are there, like that. And any loss or damage to personal baggage or passenger baggage is covered. Costs are covered here. These are some of the exclusions where they do not cover the members of household families upon that who are lighting in the. So any employers who the ground staff is there, so they are not covered here. They are covered under your workman compensation policy. And members of flight cabin or other crew members while engaged in operation and maintenance of aircraft. Normally, crew members and flight cabin crew members are not covered, but they can be covered very well by attaching Event 73 clause, which is liability to crew and pilots. And this liability is on two bases. First is a legal liability on admitted basis. This is very important to understand. See, what is admitted basis? Admitted basis stands when there is a loss of third party or say a passenger loss or any third party bodily injury or damage is happening. So at that time, the operator, the airline operator or the aircraft operator, they actually engage with the legal heirs of that person or that person itself. Okay, we are going to give you say 1 crore compensation or say 50 lakh compensation in case of this damage. But if you are okay, you can sign this amount and we will pay you upfrontly. So once that amount is being paid by the operator to that person or that to the legal heir of that deceased, so that liability limit is taken care by as on admitted basis. So that is admitted basis because the insurance company has admitted, okay, fine, this operator has paid this much amount, I am admitting it and I will pay it. But sometimes what happens that legal heir or that person, they will say, no, this amount is very less. I will suit a claim in my country. Say he might be a foreign national, he must be a US citizen. So he will file the suit there and with Air India or say any other operator, and they will take the claim from the court. Then it will be settled in the court. So mostly admitted basis is settled on out of court basis settlement, but legal liability can be covered up to the limit which is stipulated in the policy. But if that limit is not acceptable to that person or to the legal head of the deceased, then it can be very well settled in the court of law.
So, another question
Yes, ma'am.
regarding legal liability for the passengers.
Yes,
So, if a person is having his own personal accident policy, and again, this operator has this insurance also. Okay. So,
Okay.
the person is eligible to take claim from both the policies?
Yes, ma'am. I will tell you. See, under normal PA policy, there is a clause is there that passenger who's flying in a standard type of aircraft with valid ticket. Valid ticket means the boarding pass. So they are automatically covered under your normal PA policy. So and it's a benefit policy.
Yeah.
So they can, if that passenger is having say 3 policies with them, so he can claim from all those 3
All
policies.
three.
Yes, and apart from that, since he was flying in that aircraft and that aircraft crashed and his death happened, or say he got permanently totally disabled, so in that manner, as per legal liability, also he is bound to get that amount from the operator of that aircraft. So again, he will get that amount.
Okay.
Basically, when passengers are flying in an aircraft, so we are in the care custody control of that person, of that operator, airline operator, as you all are aware. Like
Correct.
even if we go to see movies in malls or multiplexes, so we are in their care custody control because it's their area, they have to take care of ourselves, like they have to take a body liability policy. Like that, it's like that, it behaves like that. So it's the manner, man. Hope I am able to explain it to you, man.
Thank you, sir.
So these are some of the general exclusions. First is your night flying. Of course, night flying is agreed nowadays, exception for force majeure, but still, say if the weather is bad, so these are being this night flying is avoided basically. Then use of unlicensed areas for landing. What is licensed area for landing and unlicensed area for landing? Anyone has any idea? See, licensed area of landing is like the helipads. Like you must have seen that there are certain designated places at the airport or say in a building or say in a hospital where H is written, which stands for helipad. Okay. And helipad is a place where helicopters land. And even the smaller aircraft, they land on smaller airports, which are licensed areas for landing. But what are unlicensed areas for landing? Suppose there's an election campaign, or say there's a rescue operation is going to happen. First, we'll discuss about the election campaigning. So, suppose there's a village, and the politician is coming by helicopter to that place, and see that village is not having any, you can say, helipad. So, what they are going to do, they will identify a field or a open area. Normally, it's a school ground or a college ground in that school, in that village vicinity or near to that place, where that local administrator, they will go and they will discuss with the farmer of that owner of the land, and the local authorities will come into the picture and they will prepare the ground for landing. And that land unlicensed landing is also covered under your Avian 23 of the Avian 1C clause, which covers this unlicensed ground handling ability clause. So we are covering them as well. Then outside geographical limits, sometimes it happens that when the helicopter is flying at a border area and due to some force majeure, he is not able to land in India and he's landing in some other country which is beyond the geographical limit of the policy, then also this is covered. Exception for force majeure. Force majeure is normally it is excluded, but under the force majeure, which is when the aircraft is beyond the control, care custody control of the pilot, then these can be covered. First three. Then use of for unlawful purpose. Unlawful purpose, of course, if the aircraft is being used for criminal purposes or say some legal activities, then it is unlawful purpose, so that's not covered. Piloted by a person other than permitted by policy. Of course, when the policy covers any pilot, so it is stipulated there that they should have a certain experience, and that is being taken into the picture. And if that experience is not with them, and if any third party which is not having any pilot experience, so that person cannot be covered. or transportation by means other than by own power. So when it is like being transported, when it is not running under its own power, of course that will not be covered under this policy. It is same like a motor policy. In motor also, when it is not running under its own power, it is not covered under the motor policy. Or if it is taken as a transit by a truck, so suppose it is loaded on a truck and it is taken by road, then it is not covered under this aviation policy, which is progressive. These are some of the exclusions, like for racing purposes, agricultural spraying purposes, aerobatics, legal seeding, carriage in excess of capacity. Of course, these are not willful malicious act. War is not. War is excluded. So we'll discuss about this war coverages under your hull always. Then there are some other exclusions are there: nuclear weapons, double insurance, then experimenting or testing new parts or designs, unless it is specifically agreed by the insurance company, or liability especially assumed by the insured. Sometimes what happens that insured thinks that, okay, I have a evasion policy and I am agreeing for this coverage as well. I mean, he discusses on his own behalf with the deceased of the person and he pays them. It's not like that. They will have to first discuss with the insurance company as well. They have to take that into picture. And this amount is, then this amount should be settled. Nuclear weapons are excluded. Noise, vibration, sonic booms are excluded. Electrical and electromagnetic interference is excluded. Ionizing radiation or contamination of radioactivity is excluded. Here, these are some of the conditions: immediate notice of change of use, cancellation of policy 10 days notice, solicitation, subrogation. I will go through it. Special warranty. These are some of the special warranties. This is condition precedent, which means that in each and every case, these warranties cannot be deleted. They are precedent, which is like they have to be, they are binded on the insured. They are binding on the insured, which is the operator of the helicopter. Like they have to comply with all navigation orders. Now, sometimes what happens, what are navigation orders? So ATC is giving navigation orders to the aircraft operator, the pilot, that okay, you have to bring the aircraft to this much altitude, and now you have to fly at a certain height. Then you have to again lower it at this position. And if the pilot of that aircraft is not able to hear it, or or it is beyond the control of the aircraft and he is not able to hear it, and in that manner, if that loss happens, then it is covered. Otherwise, it is not covered. Insured shall comply with all airworthiness orders, but still we can cover them under some of the clauses, which we will discuss at a later stage. All requirements of the regulator, all employments and agencies of the insured should comply with such requirements. So these are some of the definitions. This is the policy schedule. I will not go into them because these are normal details which are being asked from the operator. And clauses attached to the policies. Now these are very important. So we'll discuss with the clauses, and the clauses are part of Avian 1C. So Avian 1C is like the London wordings for the issuance of aircraft hull all risk policy. Next is, and we'll discuss about the clauses in the next slide immediately. Hull war and allied perils policy is there. So in the section 1, we are attaching a clause known as Avian 48B. Please remember Avian 48B, which is Aviation Hull War Risk Exclusion Clause. So it's a war risk exclusion clause. So we are not covering any kind of losses which are related to the war. And those risks are being covered here under the section 1, which is loss or damage to the aircraft due to war or invasion, strike, riot, civil commotion or labor disturbances, any act of political or terrorist purposes, any malicious act or act of sabotage, confiscation, nationalization, seizure, restraint, detention by any government, hijacking or any unlawful seizure or wrongful exercise of the aircraft. And section 2 covers the extortion and hijacking expenses. Extortion, as you know, when the when the aircraft is being hijacked, okay. Now the hijackers, they will ask for extortion money from, or they will ask for the hijack expenses from the operator of the aircraft. So, and in order to release the aircraft, they will have to pay the hijacking expenses. So those hijacking expenses are limited to 90% of 10% of the hull value, which means suppose the aircraft hull value is 100 crores. So in that way, the maximum hijacking expenses which will be borne by the insurance company will be only 9 crores. Okay, am I clear? It behaves like that. So it is limited to 90% of 10% of the aircraft agreed value. These are some of the exclusions where the war between these 5 countries, UK, USA, France, Russia, and China happens, or any consideration by any government named in the schedule. Again, this can be covered by deleting this exclusion. We can cover this under war policy, preposition by title holder, or delay or loss of use and consideration losses. These are all exclusions. So I have discussed with you all this hull or war. I will now move to the two more slides, which are personal accident and loss of license. And then we will go to slide. I will try to complete it in the next half an hour, but still give me some time if that is not possible. I hope you are all able to see the slides, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, under the PA policy, see what is personal accident policy. You all know that it is a benefit policy. So in New India or any other company, we are covering we are having different types of personal accident covers under various kinds of policies. Like under Department 31, we are issuing PA to owner. Department 31 is a motor policy. So under GR 36, we are covering compulsory PA to owner driver, like that. Or even to the passengers, we are covering the unnamed PA passengers, like for 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, we are covering them. Then under Department 42, personal accident insurance is there, which is further subdivided into personal accident retail, personal accident group, government scheme. These are some of the codes. Under aviation, so these are not covering your aviation risk, and it is only covered under your section, under your Department 43, which is aviation PA insurance for crew. Now, Janta PA, Group PA. So, Janta PA is now part of 42 only. So, it should move there. And under householders insurance policy, shopkeepers insurance, and peddler cycle also we are covering under your Department 48. And very recently, when we are issuing this BGR policy, and it's an optional cover to issue a PA policy to the owner of the aircraft, owner of the house owner. So, there also we are covering the death benefit cover to the for 15 lakhs for the house owner and the spouse of the house owner under fire policy. Okay, so these are some of the coverages. Now coming to the PA policy cover. So obviously it is almost same like your normal PA policy. Here there are 3 tables are there instead of 4. So we are discussing about this normal PA policy. We will not discuss here. This is a normal PA policy. This is not aviation PA policy. Now why aviation PA policy is insurance is covered? As I told you all earlier, that traveling as a passenger in a licensed standard type of aircraft is automatically covered. This is already written in the books. And if we are having a proper boarding pass, a proper ticket, then we are automatically covered under your normal PA policy. But when we are engaging in aviation or ballooning or mounting into dismounting from or traveling in any aircraft or balloon other than as a passenger, either fare paying or non-fare paying passenger. So there are 2 kinds of passengers. One is fare paying, other is non-fare paying. Who are non-fare paying passengers? Like a director, operator of the company, they are flying as a passenger in their own aircraft. Like in Indigo chairman will sit in the Indigo aircraft. Does he need to pay a ticket for that? No. They will fly as a non-fare paying passenger. So they are totally excluded. And that is why and the crew members and the pilots, so they are totally excluded under this policy, and they will be covered under your aviation pilot crew PA policy. Sometimes we name it as a aviation crew policy, and it's a wider term crew because under crew pilot, captain, pilot in command. So for captain we have a 3 name. Pilot, they can be a pilot in command, they can be known as captain, they can be known as a pilot. For co-pilot, first officer, second officer is there. Flight engineer, navigator and radio officer nowadays they are not used. They were in picture almost 30-40 years back when there used to be a navigator and radio officer who was sitting just behind the pilot and co-pilot in the huge aircraft. So they used to look at the engine and everything. But nowadays everything is computerized, so everything is taken care by the 2 persons which are captain and co-pilot of the aircraft. That is why the stress level has increased, and these things are there. The mention. Flight instructors are also covered under this aviation crew PA. So, what are these exposures? Now, the crew are flying aircraft and they are present in an aircraft. They are present at the aircraft location, which is the airport again. So, these are totally excluded under your normal PA policy, and they are conducting training. They are doing maintenance of the aircraft. Air hostesses are also there who are part of the crew. They can be covered under your aviation crew PA policy. So they are designed to cover bodily injury, disablement, or death occurring as an accident while mounting into, while dismounting from, and while traveling in an aircraft while the aircraft is being used in accordance with the orders from the 11th authority. These are some of the exclusions: war, allied perils, suicide, attempt suicide, deliberate self-exposures to unnecessary danger, death or disablement through disease or natural causes. It is same like a normal PA policy, nothing different. Any breach or violation by any negation or airworthiness orders from the 11th authority. Now, airworthiness orders are there or navigation orders are there to fly at a certain height, but that pilot is not uh, properly adhering to the instructions of the ATC tower, and they are flying on their own, and then a crash happens and he dies in the crash. So those will be not be covered here. Now, what are the exclusions? Test flights after construction or reconstruction of aircraft. Now, this is very important. So, suppose there is a new aircraft, or it's a, you can say, after partial damage or partial repairs, that aircraft has been reconstructed, and again, these test flights are being conducted during that time. This policy does not cover the risk. Then landing on or taking off from unlicensed landing areas unless due to force majeure. Again, but we can cover them under special by deleting these exclusions. We can cover them. Suppose we need to cover a crew PA, we need to issue a crew PA policy for a pilot who is only doing a test flight. What we are going to do, we are going to charge a very high rate also, and we can for say since such kind of policies are not so much common in India. So what we can also do, we can take a reinsurance support from JICD or from international market so that we can cover them to have a look at how risk behave in the coming days. And even landing on or taking off from non-licensed landing areas, normally they are excluded because those airports, or you can say those landing areas are not meant for landing of the helicopter or the aircraft, but still we can cover them by attaching event 23 clause. Then pregnancy exclusion clause is there. The insurance under this policy shall not extend to cover death or disablement resulting directly or indirectly from pregnancy or in consequence thereof. So any death or disablement due to pregnancy, like normal policy, is not covered here. So these are some of the netting considerations. First is flying insurance, license details, which are flying, previous accident history, age, medical history of the pilot. This is again important. If the medical history says he is already having a hypertension or say BP, or he had already had suffered a heart attack, so we have to take due diligence. We can charge a higher rate. We can take consent from medical doctors, like what is the stand of them, whether he is fit to fly or not. So these things are into the picture. Fixation of sum insured. And sum insured is normally fixed up to 1 crore, 2 crore. So normally in normal PA policy, we are seeing it to 72 months of total the sum insured limit under normal PA policy is limited up to 72 months of salary of that person. Likewise, under crew PA policy, normally we restrict up to 50 months of crew PA salary. Suppose he is earning a salary of say 4 lakh per month, so that can go up to say 2 crore rupees. So like that. So we can shift like that. Up to 1.5 crore is okay, but if we can go up to 2 crore, but then rates will be like that only. Rating is a percentage of the capital sum insured for each person. Now this is very important. 3 types of tables are there. Table A says death cover. Like normally we have in normal PA policy, we have a table D where death cover is covered. Here it is covered in the table A. Table B covers death, PTD, and TTD. So again, this is table B covers table A, which is death. PTD is permanent total disablement, and TTD stands for temporary total disablement. But table C is all risk cover here, where it covers all risks of table B as well as permanent partial disablement as well. So whenever we issue any policy saying table C, so table C rates will be quite high, table B a little lower, table A lowest, because we are issuing the covers. These are some of the options available. Like this is a benefit chart. So in death, 100% of the capital sum insured is paid. Under PTD, loss of 2 limbs or loss of 2 eyes or 1 limb and 1 eye, 100% of the capital sum insured. Same like a normal PA policy, but difference here comes under this one. Loss of 1 limb or 1 eye. In aviation PA policy, we are paying 100% of the capital sum insured, But under normal PA policy, it is 50% of the capital sum insured. Why this is a difference? Because under aviation PA policy, the pilot without eye or without one limb, he cannot fly. Means his source of income is lost now. He cannot fly now as a pilot with one eye or with one limb. You can understand that. So now his services can be not used not as a pilot, but can be used as a utilized as a ground staff or something like that. But his source of income is totally lost. So that is why we are settling them 100% of the capital sum insured. And other than loss of limb or eye, so long as the company is as the insured person shall be totally disabled from the usual appointment. So 5% per means it's like TTD cover for 5% up to 100 weeks. So it is like that. TTD is 1% of the capital sum insured, maximum 2500, maximum 100 weeks. Why 100 weeks? Because after 100 weeks, the sum insured is totally exhausted. So there is no concept of 104 weeks. And it is same like in normal PA process. So that is why I'm going as little fast. I hope that all are able to understand this.
Yes, sir.
Benefit is major difference is under the benefit table where the loss of one limb or one eye, 100% the capital sum insured is there. Under the normal PA policy, there are 5 different kinds of benefit charts are there. Under this one, 3 kinds of table are there. And there we are having 4 kinds of table. There we are having kinds of table. These are some of the additional benefits, like same like the normal PA policy, that transportation of dead body up to 2.5% of the capital sum insured, 25 rupees, whichever is less is payable. This at the option of the insured, the cover should be issued on temporary basis. See, normally the QPA policy previously used to be issued only for on-duty cover, which is only when the pilot is flying the aircraft in the air. But nowadays we are 100% issuing on 24-hour basis. Like even if he is at home or even if he is in a car going to airport to fly the aircraft, so he is on duty. So at that time also, if any loss, any accident happens in the car, so these are all covered. Because see, under normal PA policy we cannot cover any crew pilot, so we have to give them 24-hour basis cover in this policy. So that is why it is being issued. Provisions. The total sum insured under this policy shall not exceed capital sum insured. So capital sum insured is there, like whatever sum insured is decided along with the CB. But here we are not issuing any CB. In normal PA policies, we are giving, we are also giving them CB benefit, which is cumulative bonus. But under aviation PA policy, there is no concept of any cumulative bonus. No weekly payments shall become due from the company under table B until the amount thereof has been accepted and agreed. So weekly payments are normally under TTD cover. So we can also say that until and unless it is agreed, say 1% of the sum insured, but only after the medical fitness certificate is submitted, then the full amount is being paid to the this person, that insured person. So only by disappearance of the insured person cannot be considered as a accidental death. So normally in aviation also we have a missing R clause, missing aircraft clause is there where 60 days is normal. Normally it is, the answer is 60 days. So that is being taken care here. So likewise, we can also say that accidental death which is not presumed, just by person which is disappearing. So they cannot be presumed that the accidental death has happened. With no waiver in terms of any terms, condition, exclusions, cancellation of policy, arbitration clause. This shall be a different chart, just like a normal thing. And this is comes from the claim procedures like death certificate, claim form, intimation, postmortem report, medical certificate, employer certificate, other claim documents are there. So this is your normal PA policy. Now we'll go for a loss of license policy. And last we will discuss with the clauses, which is very important. What is aviation loss of license policy? So basically, it's a kind of policy which is issued to the only to the pilots who are having a valid license to fly that aircraft. They are issued by DGCA, which is Directorate General of Civil Aviation, and without the license, they cannot fly that particular aircraft. Why this is being issued separately? See, normal PA policy will cover your, it's a benefit policy and it will cover your accidental death or accidental bodily injuries. So those are risks are being covered. But under this policy, we are covering illness of the pilot. Due to their illness, they are not able to fly that aircraft, which will again take taken as a loss of income for them, because when they are not flying, they are losing their income. So basically, aviation loss of license is also considered as a loss of license policy. Why loss of license is required? A bodily injury or illness could lead to a situation where a pilot loses his or her license. Okay. Now, this profession of flying aircrafts is highly specialized. It involves substantial investments and little room for alternative employment. This third important point is very, very important. We should try to understand it. What is alternative employment? So, any loss or damage happens to that person, or you can say they are like due to bodily injury, not only due to bodily injury, but also due to say illness, kind of illness, and that illness, due to that illness, they cannot go for any other employment, and then they are covered as a means there is no room for alternative employment, and they are permanently medically unfit. Before coming to that, I will explain it to you. Two kinds of medical fitness is being considered under the law, aviation loss of licenses there, TMU and PMU. TMU stands for temporary medically unfit. Obviously, as the name suggests, temporarily but medically unfit. Like if you had certain heart disease, or you had some attack, or you went into a mental trauma, or you went into a depression. So doctor advised you a 6 months bed rest, or say 10 months bed rest. So you are not able to fly that at that time, and your income is lost. So at that time, this policy comes into the picture, which is aviation loss of license. But sometimes you are temporarily medically unfit, okay, but after a certain period of time, you are again declared as a PMU, which is permanently medically unfit. So what is going to happen? That there is no alternative employment option is available. Like you were a pilot, and you were a very good pilot, but now since you are a permanently medically unfit, you cannot fly the aircraft anymore, and your whole training and everything, your money, everything has lost now. But yes, the insurance company gives you an option that you can work as a ground staff, but your salary will be this much only. So in that case also, we are considering them for 100% payment. I will come to that. These are some of the eligibility. Pilot should have a valid and effective license, good health, employment, and normally 65 years. The cover is designed to cover insured person being disabled from carrying on his or her said occupation pursuant to the loss of license due to medical incapacitation, illness, or classified illness. See, bodily injury, illness, and classified illness. Under illness and classified illness stands for normal illness, and normal illness can be anything. Like if you got a dengue fever, or you got a typhoid, you got a jaundice. So these are all normal illnesses. About a classified illness stands for any illness which is related to neurological order, like it is related to your nervous system. Like you had a nervous breakdown, you had a mental seizure, you were not able to, you are not in a mental state of flying that aircraft. You are medically unfit, but not permanently. Obviously, you are temporary medically unfit. First, it is temporary medically unfit, but doctor has to check, and the treatment starts. But if there is no scope of improvement, then the doctor can declare it as a only medically unfit later on. These are some of the exclusions. I will leave them. These are some of the underwriting considerations. What is the past medical history? What is the age? Age, obviously, if it's a young pilot, the rates will be quite lower. If it's a aged pilot, say above 60, then rates will be quite high. Then whether the policy is a group policy or individual basis policy. We can issue on both basis. When it is an individual basis policy, then rates are quite low. When it is issued on a group policy, then it is quite a high discount is being given, and sum insured is fixed at the time of inception of the policy. Rating is applied on the capital sum insured for each person, obviously on the sum insured. Then these are some of the options available. Table A, there are 6 options. First is your monthly benefit. Monthly benefit when you are temporary medically unfit. Then table B is monthly benefit when you are disability caused by illness. This illness is caused by normal illness. This illness is caused by classified illness. Likewise, this cash or capital benefit is there, which is due to the bodily injury or illness due to normal illness other than classified, which is normal illness, but any occupation, unlikely any occupational identity, means that there is no alternative occupation is available for you. Like you are permanently medically unfit due to normal illness, and there is no other occupation which you can do. So in that case, also 100% is being settled to them. Here also 100%. In this case, 75%. Like that. Here also again 100% is payable. And disability caused by body injury other than classified likely any occupation attentive. Here it is saying in the table C it was saying likely any occupation attentive. Here it is saying likely any occupation attentive, which means that he can work as a ground staff. Although he cannot fly the aircraft due to normal illness, but he can do ground operations. That is why he is covered under this table D. So here he can get say 75% of the claim amount total like that. E is your disability caused by bodily injury or illness due to classified illness, and it results in a PMU, and he is unlikely to do any occupational alternative, and 100% is payable. Last is your cost or other legal expenses are there, the payable. Provisions are there. Waiting period of 90 days. This is very important. There is a 90 days waiting period. Then cover terminates if the insured ceases to gainfully employed, which is resignation, retirement dates, and insured remains liable for a period of 12 months after expiry of the policy, which is same like your PA policy. And the abnormal flying, if the insured is taken abnormal flying like rock dusting, seeding, spraying, then it is excluded. Why it is excluded? Because these are all risk-prone areas. Because when you are flying low, you are putting your life at risk, and that is why it is not covered. Then there is another MNE3 clause is there, which says that this will not cover any consequential loss, legal liability, any ionizing radiation or radioactivity or nuclear weapon. Then claim procedure is there. These are all there. And I will go through this last slide, which is very important.
So I have a question. In LOL policy, this 90 days waiting period is applicable for all policies, or will it be waived off in case of a continuous renewal?
Sir, it will be applicable for every on every renewal. It's not like a STFI. Like I can tell you, suppose pilot has taken a policy for every illness, whether it is temporary medically unfit or permanently medically unfit, will be considered as a you can say waiting period of 20 days is applicable for each and every renewal, like for each and every case.
Okay.
Like, means any means if he is declared TMU, like from the date of illness, his date of illness, from date of illness, the meter will start. And for the first 90 days, the loss is not going to be payable to him. After only 90 days, then this will be payable.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, now this is the most important section where the questions come from for all the skills, especially from 1 to 5. So, and this is a very important nowadays for the examiners as well. So they set it. I will discuss one by one, and I will take another 15-20 minutes only. I will not take much of your time. I know it's going to be a lunch time only. See, Avian 5A. So, as I explained to you all earlier, these are when hull all these policies discussed. So, these are governed by Avian 1C wordings, and under Avian 1C wordings only, these clauses are there. So, Avian 5A stands for deferred premiums, which clearly says as per 64 VB. Like in India, we have a 64 VB section under Insurance Act 1938. Same, Avian PA 5A says that in case of installment not paid by its due date, the cover afforded by this policy shall be deemed to have ceased at the midnight of such due date. Suppose it is due date is today, which is 7th of December 2025. So, if the client on or before due date pays the premium to insurance company, which is today's date, then the cover will be continued. But if the amount comes tomorrow, which is on 8th, then you can say that there's a break of say 5 hours or like that. Although we cover them, but then this is there. Installment should be paid on time on or before due date, which says by event 5A. And similarly, we have a event 6A as well, where we have a provision and it is applicable only for reinsurers where 30 days, suppose there's a installment due date to the reinsurer, say for first installment is 60 days. So even after 60 days have passed and the payment has not been done by the reinsured, then they have a option to give notice of cancellation, but still they are on risk for the next 30 days, like GIC does. Whenever we are reinsuring any aviation risk or any property risk with the GIC, and we have not paid any premium to them, say even after passing of the 60 days, then they can very well issue on the 61st day. GIC can issue a notice of cancellation to any company, insurance company in India, and for the next 30 days they are still on the risk, and within that 30 days we need to pay to the GIC. So that is under event 6A. This is the major difference. Now event 19A, these are automatic on pro rata addition deletion, same type and sitting capacity. Any aircraft which are of same type and same sitting capacity and owned and operated by the insured can be automatically added under this policy on pro rata basis. And conditions are there that under deletion, pro rata refund provided, no claim. So refund can be provided. See, suppose there is aircraft has to be deleted and there is no claim, then pro rata refund can be done. But if suppose there is a claim on that particular aircraft and client needs to delete that aircraft under this policy because that aircraft might have been a total loss, then there's no refund of premium will be applicable for that particular aircraft. Still, we have that fleet with us, and additional premium minimum for 15 days has to be charged. If total loss, then full premium. Information about addition deletion within 10 days. Next is the event 23A. As I explained it to you, under helicopter and license landing ground certificate clause. So this is applicable. This is permission from the landowner tenant is taken, ascertaining the suitability of the ground where the aircraft will land, and inquired from landowner or tenant or authorized representative about condition at the expected time of arrival. What is the condition of the ground at the expected time of arrival? Whether it is surveyed by the landing ground by fly pass or flight immediately prior to landing. So these are some of the preconditions which are to be taken care by the insured. Onus to prove the compliance of this condition is on the insured in case of claim. So this is very important. Onus to provide the compliance of these conditions is on the insured in case of a claim. So in case of claim, if the insured wants to claim under this policy, so he will have to prove that this loss happened due to unlicensed and landing only. Then next is your aircraft layup refund return clause. So this is event 26 of the policy, where if the aircraft is laid up of say more than 30 days, at least 30 consecutive days or more, so then the insurance company will pay 75% of the pro rata of the difference between the actual hull all risk premium and ground risk premium as agreed. See, now the aircraft is not flying, and this not flying is not due to the say natural factors, but due to say not due to overhauling, but due to say weather, bad weather, or say during COVID also it happened, which is beyond the control of the insured. Which is beyond the control of the insured. So at that time, what happened? See, during COVID there were no flights. Okay, so all the aircrafts were on ground, but we insurance companies had already charged the premium on those aircrafts. So what happened? That aircraft layup return clause came into the picture, especially under your we issue this not to a single aircraft, but where there is a fleet, normally to airlines only. But in airlines, there is one catch that this 30 consecutive days is reduced to 7 days, and that is why there was a huge amount of refund. So from next year, what happened that the treaty underwriters and reinsurance market, so they stipulated a minimum and deposit premium clause under these policies, so that even if in case of layup, the minimum premium will be this much only. That was the thing. So no return of premium is applicable in respect of the period of the annual renewal of CAW, the certificate of airworthiness, including any work thereby. So the year, see, sometimes what happens that airworthiness certificate has expired now. Okay, Now, when the airworthiness certificate has expired, the aircrafts cannot fly because they don't have a proper license to fly. So the aircrafts are on ground. So in that case, even this aircraft layer return clause will not come into the picture because this is from the insured side. This is not this will not be considered as a force majeure side unless the period is at least 30 consecutive days. So normally it is 30 consecutive days, but as I explained, at normal under GA policies, which is general aviation policies, we give this period of 30 days. But if it is an airlines, then it is 7 days. If claim in respect of the aircraft has been made, Event 28B financial interest endorsement is there. So this is applicable where along with the insured, there is a bank or financial parties involved. So they are endorsed in the policy under this clause. It is just like an agreed bank clause of your fire policy, or you can say habituation agreement under your motor car policy. So this is there. Passenger voluntary settlement endorsement. See, this is very important. 24A. See, what is voluntary settlement? Voluntary settlement is offered regardless of legality, limit of settlement. See, sometimes what happens that under the normal hull all this policy, we are covering passengers under section 3. But those are part of a combined single liability limit policy. And we have a PLL limit, which is passenger legal liability limit, say per passenger it is 1 crore. So it can be either on a voluntary basis or it can be on an admitted basis. Admitted basis means we are legally liable to pay them, but voluntary settlement is like without legal liability as well, the settlement can be offered to them, like in case of delay or something like that. So that settlement, that limit should be stipulated in this policy. And what are the exclusions? That workman's compensation, then your suicide, intentional self-injury, disease, medical or surgical treatment. So these are not covered. Flight or cabin crew are also not covered, but they can be covered when we attach even scientific clause. So flight or cabin crew can also be covered. And some of the conditions are there. I will skip them. Then event 38B, of course, this is a nuclear risk exclusion clause. This cannot be. This is always stipulated in all the policies that any risk related to nuclear are totally excluded in the aviation policy. This is again there. I will skip them. Then avian 46B, noise, pollution, and other perils exclusion clause. Sometimes in the exam, you just go through them and memorize them. There's no option other than memorizing these clauses. I can understand these are quite new for all of you, but if you memorize all these clauses, you will surely get 3 to 4 marks under your exams. I'm quite sure that questions are going to come from these clauses only, like it has came in the past as well. So under even 46B, it is noise, pollution, and other perils exclusion clause. So as I told you, any kind of noise, vibration, sonic boom are totally excluded. They are also excluded under your fire policy. As you all are aware, when aircraft is flying at a very low altitude and at a sonic speed, so they produce a sonic boom, which can destroy the glasses or windows of your houses. So those are totally excluded under this kind of policies. Then most important is your Avian 48B, war, hijacking, and other perils exclusion clause. A question always comes from this section. What is Avian 48B, or which of these clauses is covered for?
Better बच्चा बनाना सैंडविच
So under this policy, war, invasion, act of foreign enemy, as I explained to you under Aviation Hull War policy, that we stipulate this clause under Hull All Risk policy, which is Avian 1C, that any perils related to war, hijacking will be totally excluded under this policy, but they can be called under your LSW 555D, which is your Aviation Hull War policy. So they can be called there. Now next is your Avian 51, which is extended coverage endorsement aircraft hull. Now, this is very important, where the policy is extended to cover claims caused by SRCC, labor disturbance. See, in the previous clause, the SRCC or labor disturbance are totally excluded, or any malicious act or act of sabotage, terrorism, these are totally excluded. So they are covered under this UN 51 extended coverage endorsement aircraft hull. we can add them, but these are not covered under your hull war risk. That is why we are stipulating here in Aviation 51. We are covering them. Now, this is very important, Aviation 52E. See, I will give you an example. What is Aviation 52E? Otherwise, you will be able to correlate. Like, I will give you a very traditional example of 9/11, which happened on 9th of September 2001. You all have heard about that incident, which happened almost 24 years back. Okay. So what happened? That two of the aircrafts, which were Boeing aircrafts, they actually collided with the WTC towers, and those two towers came down. Okay, and the buildings got demolished. Now we'll consider this scenario. For example, I will ask you all how they will be covered. See, first the passengers in the first the loss or damage to the aircraft, under which policy it will be covered. Please unmute yourself and you can give the answer. Suppose that crash happened and loss or damage to the aircraft happened, under which policy it will be covered?
Property, aviation property.
But ma'am, name of the policy, I'm asking the name of the policy.
Hull all risk policy.
Absolutely correct. It will be covered under hull all risk policy. Now, the passengers who were sitting in that aircraft, they and the crew members, where they will be covered? In which policy?
Legal liability.
The liability is there, ma'am, but
And PA
which
policy.
PA policy. Okay. Anyone else? Any idea? Okay, I will explain to you. See, as I told you, the loss or damage to the aircraft will be covered under your Aviation 1C policy, which is Section 1, loss or damage to the aircraft. The liability to passengers and crew, they will be covered under Section 3 of the Aviation 1C policy, which is your aviation hull risk policy only, and they will be covered there. There might be possible they might be having a PA policy, but that will be paid separately to them, or the life insurance policies will be there, which they will be settled to them separately. But since we are talking about aviation point of view, we will stick ourselves only to the aviation policies only. Now, these two scenarios happened. Now, when that aircraft collided with the WTC tower, the loss or damage to that building, okay, because those buildings were around, I think, if I remember, it will at that time it were more than $4 billion. $4 billion, the amount was there for those buildings, if I remember, in 2001. So at that time, nobody had thought that any loss or damage due to terrorism can happen up to such an extent that such a huge losses can happen. So what happened till that time, the war risk used to be underwritten under the hull all risk policy only. So moment this loss happened, and the hull war underwriters had to shed a huge amount of losses. So they immediately removed the hull war risk from that policy, and they started issuing it separately. Now, the loss to that building is third-party property damage loss. So it will be covered under Section 2, but there is a limit of even 52E under that Section 2, which says, which can limit, say, up to $150 million to $350 million. No, traditionally, for airline operators, it is varying from $150 million to $350 million. And beyond that, if any third-party bodily injury or property damage loss happens, like in this case, so they are covered under a separate policy, which is again known as excess war liability policy, where the limit is again reduced up to $1 million, which is $1 million. I have seen few of the policies, like we used to have a policy for British Airlines, and in that policy, the third-party limit was $2.5 billion, which is $2,500 million, which is quite high. But for excess war liability, they only had limited it up to $1 billion, which is $1,000 million. Why? Because there are no underwriters writing this excess war liability policy beyond that limit. So airlines operator have to restrict themselves up to that limit. And these are all regulatory requirements. That is why they are taking these policies with them. Now, so that was covered up to a certain limit, say $150 million was covered under their policy. And beyond that, say, beyond that, it will be $850 million in excess of $150 million will be covered under your excess war liability. So that damage cost was there. And loss of life, the workers who were working in that, employees who were working in that building, they were also covered under that section. So this covers under event 52. It limits actually, and this limit is not applicable to passengers or their baggage or personal effects. That is why they are covered up to full CSR limit under your hull all risk policy. And this is only applicable to your third-party bodily injury and property damages. So this limit is applied. Now, even 61 says aggregate value basis, which says that in the case of total loss of aircraft, claim will be settled on aggregate value basis less any applicable deductible. Search and rescue extension clause is 62, which says that in case of aircraft is missing, so search and rescue damages will be covered. And these are all limited up to 10% of the aircraft aggregate value. Normally, we are stipulating a clause, a separate clause, which is known as event 76, which is supplementary payment clause, where we are also covering this search and rescue extension clause and limiting it to 10% of the aircraft aggregate value. So we don't need to give this clause separately. Now, event 67B is again important. This is related to airline finance or lease contract endorsement. Normally, when owning an aircraft is itself very costly in India. So normally, everyone goes for a lease agreement. Lease agreement can be done on two types: dry lease and wet lease. I will give an example and I will explain to you, because sometimes in exam also this comes what is dry lease and what is wet lease. So dry lease means when the aircraft is only given to you without any ACMI agreement, which is aircraft crew maintenance and insurance. Dry lease means there is no ACMI agreement between the lessor and the operator of the aircraft. There is no ACMI agreement. ACMI stands for aircraft crew maintenance and insurance. So there is no aircraft insurance, there is no maintenance, there is no crew members, there's no insurance. So insurance has to be purchased by the operator. Crew have to be hired by the operator. Maintenance has to be done by the operator, and aircraft operations has to be handled by the operator only. So this is ACMI. And under wet lease, ACMI agreement is there between the operator of the aircraft and the lessor of the aircraft. So maintenance, crew members, insurance, everything is provided by the lessor. And in that case, the amount, the fees, the amount which the operator has to pay to the lessor, because now aircraft is owned by the lessor, so lessor will charge some amount. So in dry lease, they will charge a very less amount, and in wet lease, they will charge a very high amount. Majority of the profitability will be taken under your wet lease. So it is always in India when the new airlines starts or new aircraft operators, they come into the picture, especially in regional airlines. So they take it on lease. Then event 71 is there. This is nuclear risk exclusion clauses. The event 73, very important, as this comes in exam as well. Liability to pilots and crew clause, which means that any pilot and crew, they are excluded under your section 2 and section 3 of Aviation 1C, which is liability to third parties and liability to passengers. They are totally excluded under that policy, and they can be covered under WC. However, on attaching this clause, this pilot and crew members, they are covered as a passenger under your aviation policy as a passenger. So there, the liability limit which is applicable for passengers is also applicable to pilots and crew as well. Event 74, pilot indemnity clause. What is pilot indemnity clause? That sometimes due to the error of the pilot, a crash happens and a loss of life happens. Although there might be possibility that there are no other losses, but a person who was already under stress, a old lady is there who's sitting and along with his children, and that old lady suffers a heart attack, cardiac arrest in the hospital because of the stress she underwent because of thinking that aircraft is going to crash. And their family members, they put a case on the pilot that due to their his operation, he means this pilot this aircraft is going to crash. So kindly means they put a case on that. So in that policy, the aviation policy, which is even 1C policy, they'll indemnify the pilot as they are insured themselves. So they will cover them as an insured. Okay. And these pilots are authorized by the insured only. So that is why we are indemnifying the pilots as an insured as well. Supplementary payment clause is there. There's like the additional expenses like such an rescue operation is there. Then runway foaming is there to prevent or mitigate loss and damage because of malfunction of or suspected malfunction of aircraft. Actual raising, removal, disposal, destruction of the wreck of aircraft insured here under and contents thereof. Then any additional cost which is borne by the insured when he is called by the public inquiry or for a public inquiry by solution authority relatively. Likewise, suppose the operator is residing in some other country and he's coming every year or frequently every month to India, and those costs are covered here. And likewise, and this limit is normally limited to 10% of the hull value, which is aircraft aggregate value. Even 77 is the unauthorized use clause. Like even this clause is provided when there is a lessor or a financer is involved. Means if there is a bank is involved, or if the event 26B is involved, or even event 27B is involved, or even 75. Even 67B is involved. Sorry. So when event 67B is involved and event 27B is involved, so at that time, this unauthorized use clause is applicable. Because if the means what is unauthorized use, like if the aircraft is to be used for business, private, and pleasure purpose, it is for private purpose. But now it is used for a commercial purpose. So it's an unauthorized use clause is applicable. It is same as like the insurance company has a defense under limitations has to use clause under your motor policies. Likewise, this is there. But when the aircraft is not bond means the operator is not the owner of this aircraft, but a lessor is which is sitting in some other country, say in Ireland or UK. So they have no mistake. They just have a contractual agreement. So in that way, the insurance company will pay to the lessor only, and this clauses only can be put in there where the leased aircraft is being used. Post landing clause is again there, which is takeoff is impossible. The forced landing is being done in the where subsequent takeoff is impossible, they will pay all reasonable costs, expenses, or expenditures for the removal of the aircraft to the nearest suitable takeoff area, provided always that insurance liability for such costs, expenses, or any loss or damage to the policy or to the aircraft should not exceed the value of the aircraft. So, if suppose there is a forced landing has been done, and to take off that aircraft, it has to be brought to airport again by say by road or say by road or by using a slung cargo. Means it will be hanged by some other helicopter, and as a slung cargo, it will be taken to that airport area premises for takeoff. So those costs will be covered under this clause. Medical related expenses inclusion clause is there, even 80. The medical expenses due to any accidental injury are normally excluded, but if we include this clause, we are covering their medical expenses as well due to the bodily injury of the crash of the aircraft. No claim bonus on renewal, which is even 85, which is like if on renewal, if it is continuously being renewed with us, then no claim bonus is settled. It's a certain percentage amount of the aircraft loss or physical damage, and it is only applicable for aviation section 1, which is loss or damage to the aircraft, and not to section 2 and section 3. Under liability policy, we are not refunding any premium. Only under the section 1, which is the property where we are covering the aircraft hull value, there only we are refunding the no claim bonus. And there's another one which is profit commission on renewal, which is income minus outgo. When there is a profit under a policy and it is also renewed with us as only, then this clause, this profit commission is payable to the operator. Then breach of air navigation clause is there. where if due to air navigation rules any breach happens, then normally it is excluded under this aviation policy. But if we apply this Aviation 94, then any breach of air navigation is already also applicable. And this is again applicable where the aircraft is on finance basis or lessors are involved, because they don't have any mistake in this. They have no hand in these operations. Mistake is of operator, but we cannot, we can say, penalize the lessor. Then even 2000A, date recognition exclusion clause, these are not nowadays used because during 2000, if you remember 99 2000, Y2K was there, millennium Y2K, millennium year was there. So Y2K clause, due to Y2K clause, it was there that there will be losses to software, chips, and data, and information will be lost. So this clause will be there, that this will be totally excluded under this policy. So it was implemented at that time, but it's still being used. Now this is LSW 617 F, G, D, E, F, G. So I think nowadays it is up to H, LSW 617 H. So every year, so these are some of the countries where the coverages are totally excluded. So say these are countries like Algeria, Somalia, Sudan, Colombia, Peru, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Jammu Kashmir, Sri Lanka, Iran, and Iraq. So these are totally excluded under this policy. And if any country needs to be covered, see, you will find here Jammu and Kashmir, but now Jammu and Kashmir is not used here. Whenever you use India, it is including Jammu and Kashmir, or we stipulatively will write in the policy India including J&K, which means that whole of India is covered, and when the Pakistan occupied Kashmir is also covered in that policy, if we are including this policy. Then this is again a special exclusion clause, as you are aware that previously long back during World War also the aircraft, the aircraft were made up of asbestos, but due to huge high heat, the metal used to tend, means they used to wrap up, means the shape got distorted, and that is why this asbestos was excluded in this policy. This is Aviation Hull War policy. We have already explained it to you. What is LSW 555D is used nowadays. So it is Aviation Hull War and Light Peril policy. We have already discussed here. Then we'll go to space. We have already explained it to you. And the wording name is LPO 344C. Question might come or might not come, but please understand that there is no different thing. This air transit, we are giving ICC air. And when we are issuing by transit in C, then ICC by C is covered. So thank you very much. So in all, I tried to explain everything to you in last 3 hours. I hope that this session was very good and I was able to explain it to you. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I am available for next 5 minutes. If anyone has any queries, you can please. I will be most happy to give you the answer to your queries. Anything if you wish to ask.
So will you be sharing the PPT also, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so the important clauses, if you, those you think are from the exam point of view, which are really important that we should go through.
Yeah, sure. I will tell you. I will just go through again. See, you can read this. Avian 19A is important. Avian 23A is important. Then Avian 34A is important. Okay, you can write them. Avian 34A is important. Avian 38B. See, they will not ask you what is actually under that clause, but they will give the name, or they will ask what is Avian 38B stands for. So they will give you 4 options. Then you can tick mark there. Because these are normally very easy questions which comes from the clauses part. But questions are been coming for the last 5 years. I have seen that questions are coming from this clauses portion as well. Then, ma'am, it is Avian 46B is very important. Avian 48B is very important because questions are coming from this section. 48B, 51, and 52E. These 3 sections are very, very important. Please try to understand. Even if you are not able to understand it, you can always ask me later on as well.
There are tickets cancelled covered under the policy.
Pardon me, sir.
Refund of tickets like Indigo flight.
No, sir.
Refund of
Indigo flight.
tickets.
No, sir. No, sir. That is not covered under this policy because see, that is actually a contractual agreement between the passenger and the insurance company. So they might have that clauses, but it is not covered here in this policy. Although I think under the flight coupon policies or whenever we are issuing a travel insurance policy under the miscellaneous class of insurance, so there we have a coverage where delay or cancellation of the aircraft is covered. Means
Or
that can be
overseas
covered.
medical policy. OMP policy, overseas medical.
Versus medical policy.
Okay,
But apart
okay.
from that also, sir, it is due to the cancellation of the aircraft as well. Sometimes the private policy companies are issuing that policy.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, will you?
Okay. You go ahead, sir.
Ma'am, please carry on. I'll ask later.
No. Mine can wait. You please ask.
Sir, do you have some MCQs for the last few years, whatever the questions they have asked? Can you share those if it is
Yeah,
available with
I will share with my team. I currently don't have with me readily available. I will try to get it and I will get back to you. Yes, sure. Don't worry. I'm on that job as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Actually, miss, I had those data, but I am not able to find them because of some data lost happened in my PC in office. I used to have that data, but I will try to get it as soon as possible and I will share with all of you.
So, any other subject you will be taking after aviation?
Like by me, it has not yet been decided, ma'am. Let the team decide. If anything is there, I'll be more than happy to help you all out.
Yeah, because the lecture was very nice, sir. Really, very informative and very up to the point. So,
Thank you so
really
much,
good.
ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Kavanya, ma'am. Anything else? Or shall we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Kshitij sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishi, sir.